Chapter 743. Firebird King's graveyard was extremely vast, and the open space was only the center. There was still half a way to reach White Sheep King's graveyard. The open space at the center was already hot enough, and the fiery chi would condense into various firebirds from time to time to attack outsiders. However, as they passed through the open space, Yichen discovered that the temperature was still rising from 1,000 degrees to 2,000 degrees. The previous temperature could already melt ordinary steel. The temperature here can more or less melt low-grade metals. Metals also had grades. Low-grade metals could be used to forge low-grade artifacts and were extremely hard. Metals below low-grade could only be used to forge ordinary weapons. Murong Qingqing said, "There's lava ahead and there's a passage leading down." Lava. No wonder. Everything on True Spirit Continent couldn't be compared to the things of Yichen's world. For example, the titanium alloy of Yichen's world was only an ordinary precious metal in this world, not even comparable to low-grade metals. Moreover, the lava of the two places couldn't be compared either. The temperature of True Spirit Continent's lava could easily reach several thousand degrees, and the temperature would also vary according to the environment. In a short while, the three arrived at the periphery of the lava. This place was the same as the empty space in the center of the cemetery. It was also a large empty space, but this empty space was filled with magma and red jade-like stones. In the center of the magma, there was a staircase leading downwards. The temperature there was much higher than the surrounding temperature. It seemed that the lower one went, the higher the temperature. "Come, let's go in." Yichen disregarded the high temperature and took a step forward, arriving at the top of the stairs. Swish, swish. Murong Qingqing and Sun Tianlang followed behind. Raising his protective Zhenyuan, Yichen faintly sucked in a breath of air. His feet landed on the stairs and he walked down. Creak creak. Although the stairs didn't conduct heat, the surface temperature was still quite high. When the protective Zhenyuan came in contact with it, it emitted a faint burning sound and smoke. Soon the three arrived at the bottom of the stairs. Yichen and the other two had just gotten down when they heard someone calling out to them. They turned their heads and saw Qing Lu and Yen Fengfeng. Not far away from them, there were even more people who were standing in a circle. In the middle was a 100-meter radius lava lake. The color of the lava was not the normal red or yellow, but blood red. It was extremely pure, without any impurities. In the center of the magma lake, there was a circle of orange-yellow light coming from the bottom. An incomparably majestic energy wave swept out in all directions, causing people to hold their breaths. "Senior." Yichen and the other two walked over. Qing Lu smiled, "As long as you guys are fine." "What's the situation here?" Yichen asked. Yen Fengfeng pointed at an orange-yellow halo at the bottom of the lake and said, "There is a half-step extreme-grade Sky Fiend Fire Spirit Fruit at the bottom of the lake." Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit? This was the first time Yichen had heard of it. "What? Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit?" Sun Tianlang cried out in shock. Yichen looked at Sun Tianlang. "Brother Sun, you know about the Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit?" Sun Tianlang said, "The Sky Fiend Fire Spirit Fruit above 10,000 years old is a top-grade spirit fruit. Consuming one will allow a monarch's spirit body to rise by one level. Normally, both monarchs and monarchs have 5th-grade spirit bodies. Consuming a Sky Fiend Fire Spirit Fruit will allow them to rise to the 6th grade. The higher the cultivation, the greater the increase. 8,000 years ago, there was a body-tempering monarch whose spirit body had reached the 6th grade. Coincidentally, he found a 50,000-year-old Sky Fiend Fire Spirit Fruit, which allowed his spirit body to rise to the 8th grade. He instantly became an undefeatable monarch. Even monarchs were no match for him. A 50,000 years old Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit can increase one's spirit body by 2 ranks, and from rank 6 to rank 8. Yichen was quite shocked. The higher one's spirit body was, the harder it would be to increase. Rank 5 spirit body was the standard of life and death kings. Even titled monarchs could only reach rank 5 spirit body. If it was a king who focused on body refining, they could reach rank 6. The gap between rank 6 and rank 5 was huge, not to mention rank 8 and rank 5. It was like heaven and earth, and it would be easy for a king to sweep the whole world. Sun Tianlang continued, "Of course, a Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit that has matured for 10,000 years and above is a rare occurrence. One that has matured for 50,000 years and above has only appeared once in history. After all, the Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit is not an ordinary spirit herb that can easily reach 10,000 years and above." Qing Lu nodded. "This Sky Demon Fire Spirit Fruit is not more than 5,000 years old. It is impossible for it to increase our spirit body by 1 rank, but half a rank should not be a problem. If it is at the peak of rank 4, then reaching rank 5 is almost certain. Rank 5 spirit body was the king's spirit body. Most of the people here have rank 4 spirit body. I'm afraid this sky demon fire spirit fruit will make everyone go crazy. Yi Qin used his soul eye and saw that there was a 1 meter tall purple-red tree under the lava. On top of the tree, there was a purple fruit, and there was a red light flashing on the surface of the fruit from time to time. Qing Lu said, although there are a lot of people here, only a few have the chance to get the fruit, such as Punishment King, Ice Spear King, Mochi Tiger, Forest King, and Armored King. Wait until the fruit ripens, I will go down alone. You guys stay up here. She still did not know that Yi Chen's power had reached a horrifying level. Even Windstorm King and Iron Hand King had died in his hands. But she could not be blamed for not having a good eyesight. Who would know that Yi Chen had only broken through a small realm, and his power had increased by several folds. Senior, I will go down with you later. Yi Chen was a bit tempted by the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit. Who would not want to strengthen their spirit body? You will go down with me? Qing Lu's brows creased as she looked at Yi Chen. Murong Qingqing explained in place of Yi Chen, Senior, Yi Chen has already broken through to Late Sea of Soul Realm. His strength is very powerful. She did not say that Yi Chen had killed Windstorm King and Iron Hand King, as it was not the right time yet. Right, Yi Chen's strength will certainly surprise you. Sun Tianlong's tone was certain. Oh? In that case you must be extremely careful. Qing Lu was still not convinced. However, Yi Chen's strength was indeed not weak before. Now that his cultivation base had reached Late Sea of Soul Realm, his improvement should not be small. Right, Senior, this Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit's effect is so powerful. The Fire Spirit tree should be able to be cultivated, right? There was only one Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit. If he could obtain the tree, he would be able to grow more Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruits in the future. Qing Lu smiled bitterly. It would be great if that was the case. The Sky Demon Fire Spirit tree is very strange. After producing a Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit, it will die. Some trees will bear fruit in 1,000 years, some in 5,000 years, and some in 10,000 years. There is no clear pattern and one can only rely on luck. Therefore, the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit is the peak among the same grade spirit fruits. I see. Yi Chen still planned to obtain the Sky Demon Fire Spirit tree. This kind of spirit plant could only be found by luck. But suddenly ripples appeared in the center of the lava lake, spreading toward the edge. At the same time, an extremely hot chi current spread out. So hot. The experts surrounding the magma lake retreated one after another, leaving only a few of the most powerful people behind. The temperature of this chi current is probably above 5,000 degrees. The temperature was too high and Yi Chen could no longer estimate it. After all, he did not have a temperature measuring device. He could only make a rough estimate based on his own feelings. Buzz. Buzz. The waves in the magma lake became more and more numerous. In the end, huge bubbles emerged on the surface of the magma lake one after another. These bubbles were pure gold in color. After leaving the magma lake, they suddenly burst, releasing an even hotter chi flow. Even Yi Chen's body was covered in sweat. Although he was powerful, his cultivation base was only at Late Sea of Soul Realm, which couldn't compare to Half-Step Kings. The Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit has matured. Qing Lu's eyes brightened. Obviously, the others had also guessed that the fruit had matured as well. Otherwise, there would not be such a weird phenomenon. All of a sudden, everyone around the lava lake started to move, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. But strangely, no one made the first move. They all seemed to be worried. Fortune comes from danger. Let's do it. A half-step king warrior flashed his body and jumped toward the lava lake. Seeing that, the people around him hesitated a bit but did not stop him. Qing Lu said to Yi Chen, the lava lake is extremely dangerous. The first one to go down will have to bear the most danger. If he is not careful, he will be killed. Let's wait. Yeah. Yi Chen nodded. The first one to go down was indeed the most dangerous. Even if he could get the fruit, he would be the target of everyone else. Perhaps this half-step king warrior thought that he was quite powerful and wanted to give it a try. If he succeeded, his spirit body would reach rank 5 soon. Plop. Lava splashed everywhere as this half-step king warrior jumped into the lava lake. Yi Chen used his soul eye and observed carefully. At the bottom of the lake, apart from the boiling magma, there were also countless scorching chi currents. These surging chi currents formed bubbles on the surface. The half-step king unceasingly evaded the chi currents, gradually approaching the fruit. When he was less than 50 meters away from the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit tree, a golden stream of air suddenly shot up and swept past. A shocking scene occurred. The half-step king didn't even have the time to let out a scream before his entire body was burned into ashes by the golden chi flow. Only his semi-extreme grade artifact remained, sinking into the depths of the lava lake. This gold chi flow is very scary. Yi Chen's pupils shrunk. Outside he could not feel the temperature of the gold chi flow, but if a half-step king warrior could not handle it, it was obvious that the temperature was horrifying. With the first one dead, the rest of the people started to hesitate even more. They looked at each other, knowing that they would not give up on the fruit. But before that, they had to figure out the danger under the lava lake first. Therefore they all hoped that someone else would go down first. Of course, the condition was that the one who went down was not too powerful. If he was too powerful, then once he got the fruit, there would be no hope left for them. Chapter 744. The Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit is indeed ripe. I wonder who will be the second to go down. Yi Chen noticed that the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit at the bottom of the lava lake had turned from purple to orange. Its entire body was emitting an orange glow. The purplish-red tree and the orange fruit were exceptionally eye-catching. If Yi Chen were a half-step king, he would definitely be the second one to go down. However, his cultivation base was only at Late Sea of Soul Realm, and his protective Jinyuan was not that powerful. Moreover, he couldn't immediately expose his bronze armor. Therefore, going down recklessly would put his life in danger. Only after understanding the situation of the magma lake would he make his move. Since everyone is so cautious, I'll go first. I hope you won't regret it. The great elder of the Void Gate, the armored king, burst into laughter. His silhouette flickered and turned into a streak of yellow light, shooting towards the magma lake. Magma splashed up from the surface of the magma lake as the armored king dived in. It's the armored king. Everyone's expression changed. Armored King was very powerful, at most a bit weaker than Punishment King. Moreover, Armored King's defense was very high. Even one of the strongest, half-step kings, Thunder Spirit King, couldn't compare. Although that golden chi flow could burn a half-step king into ashes, it might not be able to do anything to Armored King. Everyone was waiting. Once they confirmed that the Armored King could resist the golden chi flow, they would go down and fight for the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit. The density of the magma was very high, and there were many undercurrents, causing the Armored King's diving speed to be very slow. Apart from this, the Armored King did not dare to go too fast. He was not sure if he could resist the golden currents. If necessary, he would have to dodge. When the Armored King was only 50 to 60 meters away from the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit, a golden stream appeared. In a flash, it arrived in front of the Armored King. So fast. The Armored King was startled, and an earthen yellow radiance surged from his body, condensing into a 10-meter-tall black mountain. When the golden chi came into contact with it, a blinding light burst out, and the black mountain rapidly shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye, like melted cheese. Seizing this opportunity, the Armored King twisted his body and dodged the golden airflow, continuing to dive deeper. He blocked it. Everyone was overjoyed, but then they were alarmed. The Armored Monarch could resist the golden chi flow for a short period of time. They absolutely could not allow him to snatch the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. Let's go. Qing Lu yelled with a low voice, her tone decisive. Whoosh, whoosh. Yi Chen and Qing Lu almost flew out at the same time. Within a second they arrived above the lava lake, flashed and jumped down. Whoosh, whoosh. Swoosh. Not only Yi Chen and Qing Lu, the others had also made their move. Others like Punish King, Guanglin King, Machi Tiger, Ice Spear King, and dozens of other demi-king warriors all jumped into the lava lake, their speed exploding to the extreme. At this moment it was all about speed. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 people plunged into the magma lake at the same time and dived into the bottom of the magma lake. The closer he got to the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit, the more the golden air currents appeared. At this time, the Armored King's speed wasn't even 1,000th of his usual speed. He simply didn't dare to face so many golden air currents. He could only swim like a fish, blocking the golden air currents for a moment, taking the opportunity to dodge, and then continuing to approach. Seeing that the Armored King was less than 20 meters away from the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit, Punishment King, who was the strongest among them, decisively made his move. His first move was the Punishment Kill, that had almost killed Yi Chen and the rest. Numerous chains extended out, wrapping around the Armored King's limbs. Armored King's strength was only slightly weaker than Punishment King. A black mountain peak condensed outside his body once again. The chains clashed with it, letting out a metal clashing sound. However, the next blade light sent the armored king flying to the side, colliding with a golden chi flow. Chi-chi. The black mountain peak rapidly shrunk as armored king hurriedly escaped from the range of the golden chi flow. Punishment king, you dare to attack me? Armored king roared. Why wouldn't I dare? Punishment king snorted. With punishment king taking the lead, the others became bolder. Once armored king approached the sky fiend fire spirit fruit, they would immediately attack. This made armored king extremely annoyed but helpless. Soon, everyone arrived in the vicinity of the sky fiend fire spirit fruit. Dozens of people dodged the sudden golden chi flow while guarding against other people's sneak attacks. Although the golden chi flow's temperature was high, as long as one didn't get too close to the fruit, the frequency of its appearance wouldn't be high. Moreover, those who came down were all relatively powerful half-step kings. Even if they were burned by the golden chi flow, they would be able to dodge at the crucial moment. There's only one sky fiend fire spirit fruit, but there are dozens of us here. I'm afraid it won't be easy to divide it. Punishment King's gaze swept around and chuckled. Ice Spear King said with a cold tone, there are too many people. It's better if fewer go. After saying these words, he looked at a few weaker half-step kings with ill intentions, as well as the only one who wasn't a half-step king, Yi Qin. Be careful later. There might be a fight. Qing Lu transmitted her Zhen Yuan to Yi Qin. Senior, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Yi Qin could sense that the whole lava lake was enveloped in a layer of restriction, making it impossible to concentrate energy, greatly reducing the offensive power. Moreover, the density of the lava lake was also very high. At least half of the offensive power would be wasted on the transmission. In this way, the strength everyone could display at the bottom of the lava lake wouldn't be enough to break through the defense. The only thing they had to be wary of was the golden chi flow. Once they were hit, they wouldn't be able to control their body, and if they were careless and bumped into the golden chi flow, it wouldn't bode well for them. Among the crowd, the first to suffer was a skinny half-step king. He was the first to suffer Forest King's attack. His body tilted and was about to bump into a golden chi flow. At the crucial moment, he twisted his body and forcefully dodged. However, it was not only Forest King who was attacking him but Machi who as well. This person's eyes were filled with fear as he was engulfed by the golden chi flow and turned into ashes. Seeing this, two half-step kings felt that their strength wasn't enough and rushed up. They didn't want to lose their lives here. They didn't fear death, but there were too many experts down there. They couldn't fight over the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. With one dead and two gone, there were still 10 people down there. Kid, this is not a place for you to stay. Ice Spear King suddenly attacked Yi Chen with his spear, which was unexpected. This guy. Among the crowd, Yi Chen's defense was the lowest. Attacking other half-step kings wouldn't be able to break through their defenses. However, attacking Yi Chen would still be able to break through. Moreover, even if it didn't, Yi Chen would lose control of his body and crash into the golden chi flow. Get lost. Yi Chen waved his Thunder Disaster Sword and a dark golden ripple greeted the incoming attack. Rumble. Even with the protection of the restriction, the magma lake exploded and the magma surged. Ice Spear King had only used 50 to 60% of his power in this attack. He thought that 50 to 60% would be enough to send Yi Chen flying. However, he was wrong. The one who was sent flying was himself. Under his carelessness, he simply couldn't react in time. What was even more unfortunate was that behind the Ice Spear King, two golden streams of air rushed up and brushed past the Ice Spear King's body. The Ice Spear King's body lit up. First, a bright light shot out from his 7 orifices. Then his body collapsed and fused with the magma. The long spear in his hand and the armor on his body gradually sunk down. Yi Chen was stunned. He was only counterattacking just now and had never thought of killing Ice Spear King. In his opinion, Ice Spear King should be able to resist. However, he didn't expect that Ice Spear King would only use 50 to 60% of his power. Caught off guard, he died. Sigh, I've offended another ice pavilion. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. Kid, you're courting death. Everyone was shocked by Yi Chen's strength. Even if Ice Spear King was careless, he was still not a normal half-step king. Who would have thought that under one move, it would be him who died? As soon as Ice Spear King died, Forest King and Machi's eyes flickered with an ominous light as they each launched an attack at Yi Chen. You dare. Qing Lu held the sky hammer in her hand and attacked at the two. What happened next made everyone speechless. Forest King and Machi Tiger did not expect Qing Lu to have a pseudo-extreme rank weapon. They immediately followed Ice Spear King's footsteps and were blown away by the hammer power before being burned into ashes by the golden chi flow. Damn. It's a pseudo-extreme rank weapon. Punishment King's eyebrow twitched. Originally there were 10 people, but now 3 had died, leaving only 7. Damn it. We can't stay here at all. Let's go. The continuous deaths had chilled the others' hearts. They would rather fight outside of the magma lake than under it. With a little bit of carelessness, they would be burned into ashes by the golden chi flow. Among everyone, only Armored King could resist the golden chi flow for a short period of time. In the end, 4 people were left at the bottom of the magma lake. They were Qing Lu, Yi Chen, Armored King, and Punishment King. The others were either dead or had escaped. Mysterious King, I did not expect you to have a pseudo-extreme rank weapon. But you have killed Forest King and Machi Tiger. Lin family and Sky Tiger race will not let you go. Punishment King was not afraid of Qing Lu. He was a top half-step king warrior. Even if Qing Lu had a pseudo-extreme rank weapon, it would still be impossible for her to beat him. Qing Lu said, "Life and death are decided by fate. If you do not want to die, you should just hide at home." Although it would be troublesome to offend Lin family and Sky Tiger race, he could not care about that right now. He could only blame them for being careless. Punishment King laughed, "You are Xuanho's master. Lin family and Sky Tiger race might not be able to do anything to you. But for this brat, he might not be able to make it out alive. The one from the Ice Pavilion is the most protective." He still did not know that Yi Chen had not only offended the Ice Pavilion, but also the Air Emperor, the Shadow Martial School, and the Gu family. Therefore, for Yi Chen there were too many troubles. One more or one less did not matter anymore. He would just have to take it one step at a time. Dying here is their fate. If the king warriors behind them are ready to attack, my disciple Qingshen and Dragon King will not just watch. As Xianhou and Yan Qingshuan's master, how could Qing Lu not know Xuanho's plan? She knew that Qingshen and Dragon King had made up their minds to protect Yi Chen. Whoever dared to touch Yi Chen would be touching them as well. Dragon King? I wonder if he is still alive or not. Armored King sneered. Chapter 745. The Dragon King's closed-door training was something everyone knew. If the Dragon King was close to the end of his life, then everyone would give him face. After all, no one knew how powerful he really was. They only knew that he was the oldest human king warrior, over 1,000 years old. It was also said that in terms of cultivation, even titled king warriors would not be able to compete with him. Such a powerful Dragon King would naturally be feared by everyone. Unfortunately, this was the second time the Dragon King had been in closed-door training. You two, in order to avoid hurting the relationship, why don't you guys leave the lava lake first? Yi Chen put the Ice Spear King thing to the back of his head and smiled. Punishment King's expression turned cold. Brat, are you joking? Don't think that just because you killed the Ice Spear King, you have the right to talk in front of us. Armored King looked at Yi Chen coldly. Ice Spear King's death couldn't be attributed to Yi Chen's strength surpassing Ice Spear King's. It was mainly due to Ice Spear King's own carelessness. This was the magma lake, and if he couldn't control his own body, he would have died. If he were outside, even if Ice Spear King was careless, he wouldn't have died a miserable death. Yi Chen said, "If I'm careless and you die miserably here, I'm afraid that the Void Emperor and Prison King behind you won't let me off. You retreat and preserve your lives, while we obtain the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. Isn't that a win-win situation? You really dare to say it out loud." Punishment King squinted his eyes, his killing intent rising. Punishment King, your opponent is me. Qing Lu looked at Yi Chen strangely. Yi Chen was not the kind of person to talk big. Could it be that his power had really improved to such a shocking level? Qing Lu Sr., leave him to me. You go take on the Armored King. With the Sky Hammer, Qing Lu might be able to suppress Punishment King for a short period of time. But once she used up too much Zhenyuan, she would be in danger. And Yi Chen would rather face Punishment King. His defense was too high, and Yi Chen might not be able to do anything to him. Can you do it? Qing Lu obviously did not want to fight with Punishment King, but she was more worried about Yi Chen. It's too late. Punishment King did not have the leisure to watch the other side fight. True Yuan surged inside his body as he quickly formed a seal with both hands. In an instant, 5 chains wrapped around Yi Chen's limbs and neck at lightning speed. Punishment martial art. Punishment. Among the peak half-step kings of True Spirit Continent, Punishment King was certainly the most famous. His punishing martial skills were too strange. Each of his moves and styles seemed to be carrying out torture, and the slightest carelessness could lead to decapitation. Therefore, some peak half-step kings whose strength was not weaker than Punishment King didn't dare to provoke him, giving him some face. Voila! The speed at which the 5 chains descended was too fast. Even at the bottom of the magma lake they didn't slow down this much. They were about to wrap around Yi Chen's body. Break! Floating in the lava lake, Yi Chen held the Thunder Disaster Sword and waved it in the air. Clang 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 clang. The speed at which the chains descended was fast, but Yi Chen's sword speed was even faster. It was almost 1/10 of a blink of an eye, and the 5 chains had been shattered into pieces. It was unknown how many times they had been attacked. The chains were only the prelude. What followed was a blade light, which looked like an executioner's blade. Unfortunately, it could not escape from Yi Chen's eyes. The blade light was blown away by Yi Chen's casual sword attack. Right now, the punishment kill that had almost killed Yi Chen and the other 4 had been broken completely. It did not hurt Yi Chen at all. Yi Chen, Qing Lu was shocked. Yi Chen's opponent was Punishment King, one of the top half-step king warriors of True Spirit Continent. His punishment martial art had killed countless people, especially this punishment kill, which was one of his ace attacks. It had been tried and tested many times, but it had been broken by Yi Chen with only a couple of sword attacks. This brat! How is this possible? Qing Lu was shocked, but the Shield King was even more shocked. He had always thought of Yi Chen as one of the young warriors, and thought that he would still need a couple of years before he could make a name for himself among the half-step king warriors. So, he had never thought of him as someone on the same level. Right now his mind was in a mess. The most shocked one would be the Punishment King. No one would be able to surpass him in terms of understanding his ace attacks. Although those chains were only made of Zhen Yuan, they contained 70% of the gold profound. And that blade light that came after was the embodiment of the gold profound. Yi Chen had broken it with only a couple of sword attacks. Alright. Take another attack of mine. The Punishment King yelled. His rich Zhen Yuan pushed the lava to the side, forming a 12 meters wide hollow ball. Inside the hollow ball, the Punishment King's hair danced in the air as he formed a spell with both of his hands at an extreme speed. He had formed 8 spells in a row, which only took 1/5 of a blink of an eye. Boom! The lava lake exploded and a massive platform rose up. On the platform, a huge amount of gold element Zhen Yuan had formed into a massive blade, hanging high in the air. Yi Chen and Qing Lu were both on the platform. It was also made of Zhen Yuan, which was extremely hard and had a power field. Being inside it, one would be restricted and would not be able to use their speed. This is one of the Punishment King's ace attacks. The Shield King let out a breath. The strange thing about punishment martial arts was that it was very hard to avoid. The Punishment King could lock people down and then kill them. The beheading blade could decrease the opponent's speed drastically, and the huge blade hanging in the air was like the executioner's blade. It could lock onto the target, and with one blade attack, no matter how famous the target was, it would be cut in half. Indeed strange. Yi Chen could feel that he had been restricted by a power field, and that blade above him had already locked onto him. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. It was his body's instinct to sense danger. Fall! The Punishment King yelled. The blade hanging in the air suddenly fell down, its blade light as fast as a shadow. Yi Chen raised his Thunder Disaster Sword up high, blocking the blade. It is a bit more powerful than the last blade light, but it is still limited. According to the power that came from the Thunder Disaster Sword, Yi Chen could guess the attacking power of the blade. Beheading blade. If the head does not fall on the ground, it will not stop until death. The Punishment King controlled the blade with his right hand, and another blade light fell down. The sound of metal clashing could be heard continuously. No wonder the Punishment King is so confident. It turns out that this blade is just like the flying sword. It can attack continuously, and each attack is more powerful than the previous one. It can make people tired out, and as long as they are tired, the blade will take advantage of it and the head will fall on the ground. Yi Chen praised inwardly. Punishment King's reputation was not undeserved, but genuine, without the slightest bit of exaggeration. Unfortunately, he was facing Yi Chen. No matter how fast the blade was, it could not be faster than Yi Chen's spiritual sword. In an instant, Yi Chen could unleash hundreds of sword strikes. The speed of the blade paled in comparison. Punishment King, your beheading blade is not much. Now take one of my moves. Once again blocking the blade, Yi Chen suddenly shot a crescent moon sword energy at the Punishment King. The Punishment King was a peak half-step king, so Thunder Devour and Gold Ripple were useless. Thus he directly used his strongest sword move. Although the Crescent Moonsword energy seemed similar to the Crescent Moonsword chi, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. This Crescent Moonsword energy circulated unceasingly and condensed together. As soon as it was slashed out, the lava in front of it disappeared. Danger. The Punishment King did not expect that Yi Chen would have the time to counterattack while blocking. Obstructing all prosperity, prison gate. The Punishment King could no longer control the beheading blade. His hands joined together and separated, and a prison gate suffused with black chi appeared in front of him. The prison gate seemed as if it had not been repaired for a long time. With a loud rumble, it closed, trapping the Punishment King inside. Everything outside had nothing to do with him. Clang. The Crescent Moonsword energy slashed at the prison gate, only cutting a few iron bars. Powerful. It's a fusion profound martial skill. It should be metal profound and dark profound. Yi Chen's eyes squinted. He could tell that it was impossible for the Punishment King to create such a powerful fusion profound martial art. It should have been created by the Hell Gate sect master, the Hell King. The profoundness contained in this move was too profound. It was not a simple fusion of two profoundness, but it had some kind of special demonic power. Your dark profound comprehension is too low. Let's see how many strikes you can block. Yi Chen waved his Thunder Disaster Sword, and another Crescent Moon Sword energy flew out, slashing at the prison gate, causing it to sway unceasingly. This brat is troublesome. The prison gate will not be able to hold on for much longer. The Punishment King's face turned pale. Before this, he had thought that his opponent would be the Armored King. He had never thought that Yi Chen would be able to suppress him. Go. Making a quick decision, the second the prison gate was about to be cut open, the Punishment King activated his Zhen Yuan and shot out toward the surface of the lava lake. Yi Chen did not chase after him. He had already offended enough parties. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not plan to fight to the death with the Punishment King. Forcing him to leave would be more than enough. Once the Punishment King left, there were only 3 people left under the lava lake. Qing Lu and Yi Chen stood on the side, while the Armored King was alone. Alright, it seems like we have all made a mistake. The Armored King glanced at the ripe Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit reluctantly before flashing his body and flying up. He alone could not be Qing Lu and Yi Chen's opponent. Therefore, no matter how good the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit was, he would need to be alive to enjoy it. Right now he could only give it up. With all the powerful enemies gone, Qing Lu let out a sigh of relief. She then stared at Yi Chen as if he was a monster. No wonder Qing Xian said that as long as you enter the life and death realm, no one in this world would be able to do anything to you. You are even more powerful than she was before. I did not believe it at first, but now I do. Yi Chen only had late Sea of Soul Realm cultivation base. If he reached the Half-Step King realm, then it would be even more terrifying. No Half-Step King would be his opponent. She even suspected that Yi Chen could break the rules of nature and defeat a life and death king as a Half-Step King. Of course, it was only a suspicion. Yi Chen smiled as he looked at the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. Qing Lu said, "It's yours. This Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit is more valuable to you than to me." Then Yi Chen will not be courteous. Yi Chen activated his soul eye, raising his attention and perception to the extreme. He then cautiously approached the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit tree, avoiding one golden chi flow after another. Soon Yi Chen arrived beside the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit tree and reached out his hand to pluck the fruit. As soon as the fruit was plucked, the purple-red small tree immediately decayed and turned into ashes, no longer existing. Chapter 746. If I consume this Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit, my spirit body will definitely rise to the 4th grade. However, it's a pity. The spirit body of a Half-Step King was at the 4th step, which was the key to becoming a Half-Step King. Yi Chen naturally did not have a 4th step spirit body. Back then he had used the Dragon Blood Grass to raise his spirit body to the 3rd step. During that time his spirit body had basically not improved much, and was only at the mid-3rd step. Since this Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit could raise the spirit body of a Half-Step King by half a step, then it would naturally be able to raise Yi Chen's spirit body by 1 step or even close to it. Going from the 3rd step to the 4th step was almost guaranteed. However, the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit was something that could only be chanced upon and not sought. Using it now was truly a pity. If he could wait until his spirit body reached the mid or peak 4th step, he would be able to reach the 5th step immediately, which would be even more valuable than the 3rd step. It should be known that the 5th step spirit body was the average standard of life and death kings. In fact, when one first entered life and death realm, their spirit body would still be at the fourth step. Without any external help, it would be extremely difficult to reach the fifth step by relying on one's own efforts. It would take at least dozens of years or even 100 years of effort. After thinking for a while, Yi Chen decided to wait until his cultivation base reached the peak of Late Sea of Soul Realm. At that time, if his spirit body was still at the third step, he would eat the fruit. Let's go up. Qing Lu saw Yi Chen got the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit and said, "Glug glug glug." Golden bubbles appeared on the surface of the magma lake, and soon 2 figures broke out of the water. When he came up, Yi Chen realized that the Armored King and the Punished King had both disappeared. The remaining people were less than half of the original number. These people did not expect that the one who would get the fruit would be Qing Lu and Yi Chen. Their eyes were all shining with excitement. "If you don't want to die, you'd better behave yourself," Qing Lu reminded these people. Haha, not at all. Some people recalled the gloomy expressions of the Punishment King and the Armored King when they left and immediately knew what was going on. Since the Punishment King and the Armored King had suffered a loss, they wouldn't dare to steal the Sky Demon Fire Spirit fruit. Let's go. Yi Chen did not care about these people as he walked up with Qing Lu, Murong and the rest. In front of the White Sheep King's graveyard, the Thunder Spirit King sat cross-legged on the ground, waiting patiently. Behind him, more and more people rushed over from time to time. About an hour later, Yi Chen's group of 5 arrived. "I'll get the door." Yi Chen glanced at Thunder Spirit King, Punishment King and the others before he walked towards the entrance of the tomb. "The third key is with this kid?" Punished King frowned. Adding in Yi Chen, 3 of the 4 keys were in the hands of this youngster. Furthermore, Yi Chen's strength made him extremely apprehensive. "Ah, not bad. You didn't make me wait too long." Thunder Spirit King stood up. Crick. As Yi Chen inserted the key, the gate of Ares King's graveyard opened. With a swoosh, Thunder Spirit King was the first to enter. "White Sheep King is good at illusion, we should be careful." Qing Lu walked over. Yi Chen nodded. "As long as we don't separate, there shouldn't be any problems." Just as Qing Lu had said, Ares King's graveyard was filled with all kinds of illusion arrays. Some were used to trap people, some could cause illusions and some could even lead people astray. Yi Chen and Qing Lu had the highest strength, and their soul power was also the most powerful. Although the illusion array had an effect on them, it was negligible. Murong Qingqing had the perfect demonic blood vessel, which gave her a powerful illusion immunity, so she was fine as well. As for Yin Fengfeng and Sun Tianlang, they suffered a bit. The former fell into an illusion once and saw the people around her as enemies. The latter was, after all, a half-step king and could restrain herself. "Finally, I've obtained a space profound martial skill." In a secret room, Thunder Spirit King held a jade strip in his hand as he laughed heartily. Although he was one of the strongest half-step kings, there were 2 others who were equally famous as him. There was no one who didn't wish to be a bit more powerful and comprehend a bit more profound. Moreover, although half-step king in life and death realms seemed to only be separated by a thin line, it was actually an abyss. Without an opportunity, one would never be able to step into it in their lifetime. Before that, he had to make ample preparations to attack life and death realm. With this space-profound martial skill, my stagnant strength will certainly improve again, and I'll have an opportunity to attack life and death realm. Seems like the heavens are still taking care of me. Carefully putting away the jade strip, Thunder Spirit King left the secret room with a happy mood. When Yi Chen's group entered White Sheep King's graveyard, the 100 people following behind also entered Firebird King's graveyard. Unfortunately, not only did they not obtain any treasures, they were hunted down by 4 dangerous creatures, leaving not even their bones behind. In a passage, 2 half-step kings were trapped in midair, unable to budge. What trapped them was an incorporeal spider web that couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Even if one were to release their soul power, they would have to search over and over again in order to sense the slightest trace. Unfortunately, who would have thought that there would be a spider web in the passage? A moment of carelessness and they would be caught, losing control of their lives. Another 2. Shadow Ghost Bat King didn't speak any nonsense. It bit the neck of a half-step king and fiercely sucked his blood essence. As for the other half-step king, he became food for the 2 hunters and was brutally dismembered. Licking his lips, Shadow Ghost Bat King threw away the dried corpse in his hand and said with an evil smile, "With our strength, we have no opponents here. I hope we can meet that person." Shadow Ghost Bat King's pride was extremely strong, so he hated Thunder Spirit King who had humiliated him. Recalling the scene of him begging for mercy, he gnashed his teeth in hatred. Swamp King said in a muffled voice, "He's very strong. It's best if we don't provoke him for now. Just like Shadow Ghost Bat King, Swamp King was also beaten miserably by Thunder Spirit King. Only after killing enough half-step kings with great difficulty did his strength recover. Afterwards, his strength returned to its peak, and his frontal battle strength was already at the peak of half-step kings. I know what you're saying. I can feel that my strength has increased a lot. Shadow Ghost Bat King was different from other creatures. Within a certain limit, as long as he absorbed enough blood essence, his strength could increase. Along the way he had killed 7 or 8 half-step kings. His strength had long since surpassed his peak, reaching a new height. This was also the source of his confidence. Let's go. Shadow Ghost Bat King didn't say much and walked ahead. In White Sheep King's graveyard, Yi Qin and the rest didn't have any harvest. After half a day, the 5 arrived before Sky Scorpio King's graveyard. Unexpectedly, the graveyard's entrance was already open. They wondered who had the 4th key. Was it a youngster? Walking in the graveyard's passageway, Qing Lu said, Sky Scorpio King is the strongest demonic beast king under 4 Extreme Emperor. He's a rare demonic beast sword artist who likes to use swords. His sword art's realm is also very high. Back then, some even called him Sky Scorpio Sword King. Sky Scorpio King is a demonic beast sword artist who likes to collect swords. Perhaps there's a sword mound in his graveyard. Sword mound meant a graveyard of swords. Some powerful sword kings would build a sword mound for their beloved swords in addition to their own graveyard before their death. Apart from their beloved swords, there were also many treasured swords in the sword mound. Sky Scorpio King is a sword artist? Yi Qin felt that it was very novel. Qing Lu nodded. Right, Sky Scorpio King's sword was also very famous at that time. It's called Sky Scorpio Sword. It's said that he forged it himself, using supreme-grade materials. Some of them can't even be found on True Spirit Continent, and can only be found on some planets in the starry sky. Because some planets contain special energy, his Sky Scorpio Sword also inherited this energy, greatly increasing its destructive power. It's much more powerful than ordinary supreme-grade swords. Of course, I'm only guessing. Perhaps Sky Scorpio King won't build a sword mound. Let's hope we're lucky. The Battle King sword in Yi Chen's storage ring was also a supreme-grade sword, but it was damaged and didn't have a trace of power. Forging it again would be meaningless. However, the damaged Battle King sword also had value. If Yi Chen wanted to forge a sword, he could extract some useful materials from the damaged sword, saving him a lot of effort. Sky Scorpio King's graveyard was the largest among the 4 demonic beast kings. After walking for half a day, the 5 still hadn't reached the end. There is sword chi. Yi Qin, who was walking in front, suddenly frowned as he tried to sense it carefully. Are there sword artists battling? Qing Lu asked. Yi Qin shook his head slightly. No, this sword chi is different from the sword chi that was shot out. It is the chi of the sword, and there are many kinds of them. Yi Qin was a sword artist, so he was very sensitive to sword chi. It might be the location of the sword grave. Qing Lu's eyes brightened. Follow me. With the subtle feeling of the sword chi, Yi Qin led the way in the front. After a few turns, Yi Qin and the other 4 unknowingly arrived in front of a massive stone door. The door was half opened and countless kinds of sword chi leaked out, cutting the air. It is indeed the sword grave. Qing Lu said with certainty. Someone has already entered. Yi Qin glanced at the half-open door, flashed his body and flew in. So many swords. Once the 5 entered, they were immediately shocked by the scene in front of them. Yen Fengfeng and Murong Qingqing even lifted up their heads, their mouths wide open. In their sight there were swords everywhere. Inside the sword grave there were all kinds of swords. There were swords stuck in the low places and there were also swords stuck in the high places. Every few steps there would be a sword stuck in the ground. Looking over, there was no end to the sword grave at all. This is a low-rank great sword. Yi Qin touched one of the swords on the outside and said. Murong Qingqing said strangely, after tens of thousands of years, the low-rank great sword should not be able to survive. How come the swords here do not seem to be damaged at all? Yi Qin said, if I have guessed it right, after the passage of time, the swords in the sword grave had already sensed each other and could use sword chi to nourish each other, and the other would also use sword chi to nourish each other. There are thousands of swords here, thousands of sword chi lingering around, which had become the best nourishment for these swords. Therefore, after tens of thousands of years, the swords here have become sharper instead of damaged. Yen Fengfeng said, perhaps there really is the Sky Scorpio sword here. Let's go look for it. It does not seem easy. These swords have the same chi and they seem to be hiding their chi. Murong Qingqing looked around but could not see anything. Yi smiled. You are right. The swords have their own spirits and will not release their chi in public. Therefore, if we want to find a good sword, we would have to understand it very well and have a pair of sharp eyes. Alright, I would like to see if I can find the Sky Scorpio sword among these thousands of swords. Chapter 747. There were too many swords in the sword mound. As far as the eye could see, it was like a sea of swords, a mountain of swords. Countless sword chi clashed in the air, issuing metallic clanging sounds. Yi walked at the front alone, gradually going deeper. What a powerful sword chi! He couldn't sense how powerful the sword chi was from the outside, but as he went deeper, more and more incorporeal sword chi slashed at Yi, as if wanting to cut him into countless pieces. The sword chi accumulated by thousands upon thousands of swords was no joke. Plus, Yi realized that being surrounded by so many great swords, his sight and soul power started to get mixed up. Just by looking with his naked eyes and sensing with his soul power, he could not tell which sword was special at all. In fact, he even had the illusion that all of them were good swords. Seems like I can only rely on my intuition towards swords. Yi-chen's expression didn't change as he resolutely walked forward, using his heart to sense the call of the swords. In this huge sword mound there seemed to be no sword that was the same. Not only were they of different colors, even their shapes were bizarre. Some swords were as tall as a person, broad and heavy, weighing no less than several thousand jin. Some swords were as long as a forearm and as wide as a finger. Although they were called swords, they were actually more like extended daggers. Some swords were covered in sawtooth edges, brimming with evil chi. Some swords had a forked front like a snake's tongue. Some swords were incomparably gorgeous, inlaid with all kinds of gems and crystals. There were also some swords that were extremely simple, only made of two pieces of wood. With so many treasured swords, with so mmany shapes and auras, no one knew which swords were good, and which swords were just for show and not powerful at all. Sky Scorpio sword. Where is it? Before Yi and the rest entered, a half-step king had already entered. This half-step king was a sword artist with the title of Metal Sword King. He primarily cultivated metal attribute Zhen Yuan, and his profound was also metal profound. His sword arts were incomparably sharp and unstoppable, displaying the sharpness of metal. He was quite famous among half-step kings. It was already not bad to have a supreme grade sword in the sword mound. Without a doubt, the Sky Scorpio sword was the strongest in the sword mound of the Sky Scorpio King. However, there were too many swords in the sword mound, and these swords had their own spirituality. They didn't deliberately release their aura, but instead knew how to hide their aura. Then, through the myriad of sword chi, they could confuse the senses, making it even harder to find the Sky Scorpio sword. As far as the Metal Sword King was concerned, semi-extreme grade swords had no meaning other than selling them for some upper-grade spirit stones. Therefore he only had one target, the Sky Scorpio sword. I don't believe I can't find the Sky Scorpio sword. The Metal Sword King was extremely confident that he could find the Sky Scorpio sword. If he didn't have confidence, he wouldn't have become a half-step king with the identity of a sword artist. Suddenly, the Metal Sword King's attention was attracted by a flicker of golden light. A faint golden sword was stabbed into the pit in front of him. The sword's body was long and slender, and two words were carved on its hilt, Jining. Although this sword was deliberately hiding its aura, its sharpness couldn't be concealed. As long as one approached it, one could feel the sword chi that seemed capable of cutting one's soul. Good sword. Moreover, it's a metal attribute sword. The Metal Sword King's face lit up as he extended his hand, intending to pull it out. But halfway through, the Metal Sword King hesitated. His target was the Sky Scorpio sword. Clearly this sword couldn't be the Sky Scorpio sword. He hadn't heard that the Sky Scorpio sword was metal attribute, and the Sky Scorpio King himself was not a metal attribute demonic beast. Moreover, the two words carved on the hilt of the sword should be the name of the sword. The Jining sword is extraordinary. It's definitely a supreme grade sword. I can't let it go. In any case, after taking the Jining sword, I'll go find the Sky Scorpio sword. After a moment of hesitation, the Metal Sword King grabbed the hilt of the Jining sword and pulled it out. Clang. As the sword was pulled out, a golden sword chi soared into the sky and circled above the sword mound. At the same time, hundreds of swords in the surroundings rang out, seemingly paying homage to the sword in the Metal Sword King's hand. Seeing this, the Metal Sword King let out a sigh of relief. His consciousness sank into the Jining sword, determining its grade. The higher the grade of a sword, the more difficult it was to determine when it was hiding its aura. It was unlike a low-grade sword, which could be determined with a touch. After a while, an incomparably disappointed expression flickered on the Metal Sword King's face. The Jining sword was not an extreme-grade sword, not even a semi-extreme-grade sword. It was only an upper-grade sword. As far as he was concerned, it was just a piece of scrap metal without the slightest value. Depressed, the Metal Sword King pulled out an ordinary longsword beside him as if venting. How is this possible? What astonished the Metal Sword King was that this ordinary longsword he had casually pulled out unexpectedly blossomed with an icy blue radiance. The sword chi radiated in the surroundings, causing the surrounding longswords to sway. It's a semi-extreme grade sword. After a careful inspection, the Metal Sword King discovered that this was a semi-extreme grade sword. Before this, he had only treated it as an ordinary low-grade sword and didn't pay much attention to it. Could it be that in this sword catacomb the more high-profile a sword is, the lower the chances of it being a good sword, even though its grade isn't too low? On the other hand, ordinary and inconspicuous swords have a higher chance of being a good sword, or even a supreme-grade sword. This result made the Metal Sword King very excited. He had finally found a pattern. Swords have sword bones. If the sword bones are upright, the sword chi will be strong. Yi Chen was like a cursory glance as he shuttled through the mountains and seas of swords. Occasionally he would come across a sword with a clear sword bone and touch it. It was easy to see that the swords Yi Chen touched were not all of the same style. Some swords were high profile and powerful, showing off their sharpness. Some swords were calm like water, silently nourishing everything. Some swords were simple and unadorned but not refined. He wasn't like the Metal Sword King, who only paid attention to the sword's aura and unintentionally pulled out a simple sword, thinking that it was better to be unremarkable. In Yi Chen's opinion, a powerful aura and a simple and unadorned form were just the appearance of a sword. Perhaps he might come across a good sword if he was lucky, but most of the time he would be disappointed. The more powerful the sword, the more spirituality it had. A sword with spirituality was no longer an inanimate object. It had a sword bone just like humans. Humans had bones in their bodies, and some masters would describe geniuses with potential as having a clear and wondrous bone. Therefore, a good sword would also have a good sword bone. Of course, nothing was absolute. Perhaps there would be a sword with a bad sword bone but a powerful sword chi. But everyone had their own area of expertise and it could not be forced. On the way, Yi Chen had also seen some semi-extreme rank swords, but he did not pull them out. Before he found the Sky Scorpio sword, he would not pull out any sword. It was not because he had sensed something, but it was just his instinct. The swords in the sword grave had been through tens of thousands of years, and their spirituality was much stronger than other swords of the same rank. If he pulled out another sword right now, it would be disrespectful to the Sky Scorpio sword and he might miss it. As for Qing Lu and the rest, they did not have this concern. They saw some decent swords and pulled them out. However, after each of them had pulled out a couple of swords, the sword chi in the sword grave suddenly started to target them. Before, the sword chi in the sword grave was formed naturally, but this sword chi was created by countless swords. The sword chi was 10 times stronger than before, and even Qing Lu was not feeling well, so she stopped pulling out her sword. So many swords that look exactly the same? After walking for 10 minutes, everyone's vision blurred. Looking over, dozens of meters ahead, there was a huge area filled with swords that looked exactly the same. These swords were all around 4 feet long, silver with a hint of purple. The sword hilt was black and it looked like a black scorpion. The tail of the black scorpion was the tip of the hilt, and its 2 huge pincers were opened, forming a sword socket, protecting the sword artist's palm. And in the middle of the sword socket, there were 2 peanut-sized red gems, which looked like the eyes of the black scorpion. The silver with a hint of purple sword body was spat out from the black scorpion's mouth. It was extremely sharp, and its aura alone gave people an unbearable feeling. Sky Scorpio sword, it must be the Sky Scorpio sword, but why are there so many? Qing Lu's breath slightly increased as she mumbled to herself. There should only be one real one and the rest are all replicas. Although Murong Qingqing said so, when she used her demon eyes, she realized that every sword was exactly the same, even the aura was exactly the same. She could not tell which one was special. There is only one real Sky Scorpio sword. Yi Chen's expression turned serious as he walked over one step at a time. Haha, first come, first served. These Sky Scorpio swords are all mine. I'll go back and slowly figure them out. Just as Yi Chen was walking over, another figure walked out from another direction. It was the Metal Sword King. Seeing so many Sky Scorpio swords, his face revealed a joyful expression. He waved his hand and his Zhen Yuan formed a huge hand, wanting to collect all the Sky Scorpio swords into his storage ring. Overestimating yourself. Yi Qin did not stop him, revealing a sneer on his face. Ding. Just as Yi Qin finished his words, hundreds of Sky Scorpio swords made a ringing sound. Purple sword chi spiraled out and gathered together, forming a huge purple sword aura. It slashed apart the Metal Sword King's huge Zhenyuan hand, then slashed toward his body. What? The Metal Sword King was shocked. He pulled out his great sword and blocked in front of him. Gotcha. The great sword in the Metal Sword King's hand was a semi-extreme rank great sword called the Absolute Gold Sword. It had accompanied him for dozens of years, stained with the blood of countless experts. However, under the Purple Sword Aura's attack, the Absolute Gold Sword was immediately broken, shattering like a crystal. A wave of sword chi passed through the shattered Absolute Gold Sword and heavily attacked the Metal Sword King's protective Zhenyuan. Spurting out a huge mouthful of blood, the Metal Sword King was sent flying, knocking away countless swords along the way. The swords flew everywhere like flying swords. Qing Lu and the rest were shocked by this scene. Hundreds of Sky Scorpio swords had actually released sword chi on their own, causing a half-step Sword King to puke out blood. Even the semi-extreme rank great sword was shattered in one strike. If not for the semi-extreme rank great sword blocking, the Purple Sword Aura might have killed the Metal Sword King completely. There must be a Sky Scorpio sword inside. Qing Lu was even more certain of her thoughts. Even if all the Sky Scorpio swords here were upper rank great swords, they would not be able to break a semi-extreme rank great sword. If it were that easy to break, it would not be a semi-extreme rank great sword. It should be known that even normal life and death realm warriors would not be able to break a semi-extreme rank great weapon with one strike, unless it had no master. Damn it, how could it be like this? The Metal Sword King was heavily wounded, lying on the ground, unable to get up. Looking carefully, one could see that the clothes on his chest had already crystallized, turning into tiny particles. The skin in front of his chest had also crystallized with many cracks on it. The power of the Purple Sword Aura was horrifying, and it was still under the condition of not having a master. Chapter 748. In that split second, 3 Sky Scorpio swords were the first to release sword chi, and the others followed closely behind. Yi Qin clearly saw that hundreds of Sky Scorpio swords seemed to release sword chi at the same time, but in fact, 3 swords were the fastest and seemed to be guiding the others. However, there is only one true Sky Scorpio sword. Yi Qin walked into the crowd of Sky Scorpio swords. The auras of the 3 swords are the same, and the sword bones are also about the same. There is no difference between them? Yi Qin didn't pull out any of the Sky Scorpio swords, but only touched them one by one, feeling the subtle differences in auras and the feeling they gave him. However, the result left him puzzled. These 3 swords, no matter how he looked at them, were the same. Yi Qin, is Sky Scorpio sword among these 3? Murong Qingqing asked. Yi Qin shook his head. I don't know either. A moment ago he was sure that the true Sky Scorpio sword was among these 3 swords, but now he didn't dare to be sure. Even if there were some slight differences in appearance and sword bones, they were at the same level. Among these 3 swords, which one is the true Sky Scorpio sword? Yi Qin stood in the middle of the 3 swords, pondering with his head lowered. Or maybe I'm wrong and the true Sky Scorpio sword isn't among them. Immediately, a new idea popped up in Yi Qin's mind. Yes, this is a possibility. If the Sky Scorpio sword was the first to release sword chi, then there should only be 1 and not 3. The reason for the 3 is very likely to be the Sky Scorpio sword trying to confuse me, diverting my attention to these 3 swords, while it hid among the other swords. I didn't expect that I was almost fooled by a sword. Raising his head, Yi Qin revealed a smile. You are not. You are not either. Strolling among the Sky Scorpio swords, Yi Qin touched them one by one. This method was stupid but also the most practical. Anyway, there were only 500 to 600 Sky Scorpio swords here, and it wouldn't take long to touch them all. He didn't want to be fooled by them. It seems to be you. After touching more than 300 Sky Scorpio swords, Yi Qin finally found the one that was most likely to be the Sky Scorpio sword. When he touched the sword, there was nothing strange at first. However, after rubbing it for a while, he immediately felt an extremely overbearing power stirring. As this feeling arose, Yi Qin caught a glimpse of a faint purple light flashing across the blade of the sword. If he didn't look carefully, he would have missed it. Senior Qing Lu had said that the Sky Scorpio sword had a material that came from a planet in the sky, containing a special power. Other swords do not have this kind of vibration, only this sword does. It was rare for treasures to possess special powers. They were usually inherited from the materials they were forged from, so it was impossible to fake them. This sword was most likely the genuine one. If that's not the case, I'll admit it. Yi Chen firmly believed in his choice. A swordsman's greatest taboo was hesitation. Clang. With his hand on the hilt, Yi Chen pulled out the Sky Scorpio sword. The second Yi Chen pulled out the Sky Scorpio sword, the sword suddenly shone with a purple light. Under the purple light, the ground nearby and the other Sky Scorpio sword started to form purple crystals at an extremely fast speed. The crystals expanded gradually, eventually covering dozens of meters in radius. What kind of power is this? Yi Chen's eyebrows flicked as his left hand touched the hilt of a Sky Scorpio sword right next to him, then slightly tightened his grip. Bang! A shocking scene happened. This sword, which was at least a mid-rank one, was shattered like a purple crystal. Purple crystal iron. I did not expect that there would be purple crystal iron in the Sky Scorpio sword. Qing Lu blurted out. Yin Feng asked, "Teacher, what is purple crystal iron? How come I have never heard of it?" Qing Lu said, "Even within the top quality metals there are good ones and bad ones. The most famous ones are the top 10 metals, and the purple crystal iron is one of them, ranked number 7. The purple crystal iron contains the power of crystallization, and most of the objects that are touched by the purple light will immediately crystallize. Even if it is the same rank materials, if they are touched by the purple light for too long, they will also be damaged." Then this is the Sky Scorpio sword? Murong Qingqing felt that the Sky Scorpio sword in Yi Chen's hand seemed to be normal except for the powerful purple light. Otherwise, why did it have no reaction after being pulled out? Ding. Just as Murong Qingqing finished her sentence, the Sky Scorpio sword in Yi Chen's hand suddenly enlarged from 4 feet and 2 feet to 3 meters, 2 meters, 3 meters, 30 meters, 30 meters, 30 meters, 30 meters, 30 meters huge Sky Scorpio sword, which was even bigger than Yi Chen's body. Yi Chen's figure could no longer be seen. Once the Sky Scorpio sword enlarged, it created a horrifying commotion. The sword chi inside the sword grave became more and more intense, like a tornado. In the next second, all of the swords were pulled out automatically, floating in the air with the Sky Scorpio sword as the center. They slowly rotated like thousands of swords worshipping each other. This is the real Sky Scorpio sword? The Metal Sword King's eyes were wide open. It is indeed the extreme rank Sky Scorpio sword. Yi Chen laughed heartily. The 30-meter-long Sky Scorpio sword was extremely heavy, weighing at least 10,000 jin. Lifting it in his hand felt like lifting a small mountain. As far as he knew, only some special semi-extreme grade artifacts could enlarge it. Only extreme grade artifacts could do this. And he had already examined it carefully, and it was indeed an extreme grade artifact. Was the real deal. Yi Chen, congratulations. The Sky Scorpio sword contains the purple crystal iron. Even among the extreme rank weapons, it is still a top grade weapon. Qing Lu was very envious of Yi Chen's luck. There were so many life and death realm warriors who wanted an extreme rank weapon but failed to do so. And Yi Chen was only at late Sea of Souls realm, but he already had an extreme rank sword. If this news got out, it would definitely make countless people jealous. This might be my lucky chance. Yi Chen was imprinting the soul mark on the Sky Scorpio sword. Without it, he would not be able to make the sword smaller. If it did not shrink, not only would it take up a lot of space, it would also be unusable. Yeah, you have one of the keys, so you must have had a great fortune. The Sky Scorpio sword should belong to you. Qing Lu thought about it and agreed with him. 4 keys, 4 people would get them, and the ones who got them would be people with great fortune and fortune. Imprinting the soul mark on the Sky Scorpio sword was very easy. After tens of thousands of years, the soul mark that the Sky Scorpio King had left on the sword had already been used up. Right now the sword was ownerless. Imprinting the soul mark on an ownerless object would not be a problem. Soon Yi Chen successfully imprinted his own soul mark on the sword. Shrink. Yi Chen controlled the Sky Scorpio sword through the soul mark. Whoosh. The Sky Scorpio sword shrunk back to its original size, 4 feet and 2 inches. Holding the Sky Scorpio sword in his right hand, Yi Chen did not pour in his Zhen Yuan and casually waved it twice. Crack. 2 crystal marks appeared in the air, which was the sign of air crystallization. One could imagine that even an ordinary person holding the Sky Scorpio sword would be able to kill a powerful martial artist, provided that he could lift it up. This Sky Scorpio sword weighed over 10,000 jin, and Yi Chen's strength exceeded 400,000 jin. Adding the explosive Zhen Yuan, he could only wave it around with a weight of more than several 100,000 jin. This Sky Scorpio sword is an extreme grade sword. You can't keep it. Give it to me and you can live for a few more years. Otherwise, if I leak the news, you will die for sure. The Metal Sword King had unknowingly finished recuperating his body. He stood up and greedily stared at the sword in Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen glanced at the Metal Sword King. I'm afraid even you can't keep it? I have my methods. You better think about it. One wrong move and you might lose your life. Of course, I won't take your sword for nothing. I will compensate you for your loss. On the other hand, if you don't agree, then the news of you getting the sword will leak out. I believe there will be a lot of life and death kings eyeing it. Sorry, not possible. Yi Chen's expression was cold. Then don't blame me. Shoo. The Metal Sword King flew out of the sword grave, increasing his speed to the limit. Obviously, he was also afraid of Yi Chen and Qing Lu joining hands. We can't let him live. Qing Lu took out her sky hammer, preparing to attack. Senior, let me do it. Yi Chen would naturally not let the Metal Sword King go. If the latter had not threatened him, he might have hesitated a bit and not killed him right away. But now there was no need for that. The latter would die for sure. Holding the Sky Scorpio sword, Yi Chen raised it up high. Dense Zhen Yuan poured into the sword through the Laogong meridian in his palm. Ding. The purple light on the Sky Scorpio sword shone brightly, illuminating a purple halo. At the same time, a purple sword light appeared on the tip of the sword. Go. A vein popped out on Yi Chen's forehead. Waving both of his hands, the Sky Scorpio sword slashed down. No one could describe how breathtaking this sword was. Time within the sword mound seemed to slow down until it came to a standstill. All moving objects seemed to be frozen in that instant. As for the Golden Sword King, his flying speed grew slower and slower, but he himself didn't notice it. The purple sword light was like a purple shooting star in the universe. It instantly slashed at the back of the Metal Sword King, not giving him any time to react. Gotcha. The Metal Sword King's body was directly cut into two, and it was not over yet. The two halves of the corpse instantly crystallized, looking like two pieces of purple crystal. After the purple sword light cut through the Metal Sword King's body, the remaining power did not dissipate. It pierced through the wall of the sword grave as well, landing on the opposite wall. Of course, the opposite wall could not block it. Just like that, the purple sword light pierced through countless walls before stopping. The two crystallized corpses fell on the ground, shattering into pieces. With one sword, the Metal Sword King died miserably. Moreover, it was the kind of crushing death without any suspense. Seeing the Metal Sword King killed, Yi Chen heavily gasped for breath. His complexion was incomparably pale, and beads of cold sweat dripped down his face. That sword strike just now had completely emptied his Zhen Yuan, not leaving a trace behind. It seemed as if it wished to drain his blood. That feeling of Zhen Yuan being emptied in an instant made Yi Chen extremely weak. He could not even hold the Sky Scorpio sword tightly, and it stabbed into the ground. This Sky Scorpio sword is simply an insatiable black hole. Yi Chen faintly sensed that even with all his Zhen Yuan, he might not be able to use the Sky Scorpio sword's full strength. 50 to 60% of its might would already be pretty good. Perhaps he would need to reach half-step King Realm before he could fully display its might. Fortunately, I have the Dragon God Medal. The Dragon God Medal was the highest medal of the Dragon God Celestial Palace. At the same time, it was a treasure that could store a third of Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan. Activating the Dragon God Medal, a large amount of Zhen Yuan poured into Yi Chen's body. This Zhen Yuan and Yi Chen's were of the same origin, without the slightest conflict. Chapter 749. So frightening. Qing Lu, Murong Qingqing and the rest were shocked. Yi Chen's sword attack did not have any mysteries, only pouring his Zhen Yuan into the Sky Scorpio sword and shooting out a sword light. However, the power of that sword light was extremely horrifying. Qing Lu's Sky Hammer was also a low-quality extreme rank weapon. Judging on its power, it was probably not even one-third of the Sky Scorpio sword's power. And this was still because Yi Chen could not bring out the sword's full power. Otherwise, the Sky Hammer might not even be one-fifth as powerful as the Sky Scorpio sword. Yi Chen, the Sky Scorpio sword is a supreme treasure. Even if it is powerful, you should not use it casually. Once life and death realm warriors know that you have it, the consequences will be unimaginable. Qing Lu reminded Yi Chen. Yeah, there are a lot of life and death realm warriors without extreme rank weapons. And the Sky Scorpio sword is obviously not a normal extreme rank weapon. It will make the king warriors crazy. Sun Tianlang looked away from the Sky Scorpio sword and nodded. Don't worry about me. Yi Chen of course knew about the principle of not showing off one's wealth. It could only be used when it was absolutely safe. Inside the sword grave there were a lot of great swords. After taking the Sky Scorpio sword, Yi Chen collected another 7 to 8 semi-extreme rank swords and hundreds of top-rank swords. Qing Lu and the other 3 also collected a lot, all of the mid-rank and above great swords. The rest of the great swords in the grave suddenly snapped in half and then started to rot. It turned out that the reason why these low-rank and mid-rank swords could be preserved for tens of thousands of years was because the sword grave was a sealed space, and there was a lot of sword chi to train them. Now that the main sword had been taken, the low-rank and mid-rank swords immediately started to crumble. Let's go. Yi Chen and the other 4 left the sword grave. The tombs of the Ash Wolf King, Fire Bird King, White Sheep King, and Sky Scorpion King contained many treasures. Anyone who entered this place as long as they were alive, would have a harvest. However, everyone knew that compared to the tomb of Emperor of 4 Extremes, the previous 4 tombs were nothing. The graveyard of the 4 Extremes Emperor was an emperor's graveyard, and the 4 Extremes Emperor was not a titled monarch. He was an ancient hero who could leave his mark on the Emperor's scar steel. If he were to come back to life, he could turn Elysium upside down with a single hand and control the world. What Su King, what Air Emperor, they would all be fleeting clouds. Only a titled monarch who could leave his mark on the Emperor's scar steel could compete with him. Unfortunately, there were no such titled monarchs in this era. Although the graveyard of 4 Extremes Emperor was good, everyone knew that it would be the turn of the Life and Death Kings next. They could only stand to the side. If their luck was good, they might be able to pick up some leftovers. Of course, this possibility was minuscule. Passing through the graveyard of Sky Scorpion King, Yi Chen and the other 4 arrived at a vast plaza. The entire plaza was paved with dark blue boulders. At each of the 4 corners of the plaza stood a statue. There was the Ash Wolf statue, the Fire Bird statue, the Aries statue, and the Scorpio statue. In the center of the plaza, there was an even larger statue of a human. This human statue was almost 100 meters tall and was cast from an unknown boulder. The surface of the statue was suffused with a simple but magnificent radiance. The human statue's expression was solemn. Its shoulders were wide and its legs were long. Its right hand reached out. This hand looked ordinary, but it gave people a feeling of being able to overturn the heaven and earth. Even Yi Chen's heart raced as he was shocked by the statue's aura. Statue of 4 Extremes Emperor. Qing Lu raised her head and said with a reverent tone. Sun Tianlang said, a peerless genius from 70,000 years ago. If he were still alive, how powerful would he be? No matter what kind of genius, what kind of king, they would all be shrouded in his shadow. It had been a very long time since a titled monarch had appeared on the Emperor's scar steel. Su King had tried but he failed. Air Emperor had tried but he also failed. Ever since the era of Yuan Emperor, countless people had tried but they had all failed. This had created an argument that no one could surpass the ancients anymore. They believed that the current era had already declined, and there would no longer be that kind of peerless genius. He's here. He has the 3rd key. The arrival of Yi Chen's group attracted a lot of attention. However, everyone's gaze was focused on Yi Chen, because he had the key to Aries constellation. Yi Chen. Dantai Mingyue walked over. What is it? Dantai Mingyue said, I have the 4th key. Adding Jiang Tian Xiaozuan and yours it will be 4. It will be enough to open the gate of 4 Extremes Emperor's graveyard. The 4th key is with you? Yi Chen had already suspected it. He did not expect the Scorpio key to really be with her. Then she must have also trained the most powerful movement of the void-shattering finger, the 4th movement. Indeed. Dantai Mingyue nodded. Alright, let's go. Yi Chen did not reject it. The 3rd key was with him, so he had to go even if he did not want to. Otherwise he would be the target of everyone. It's opening. Everyone saw Yi Chen, Dantai Mingyue, and the other 3 walking toward the gate. They all held their breath and stared at the gate without blinking. Begin. Dantai Mingyue inserted her key first. Jiang Tian glanced at Yi Chen before inserting his own key as well. Then it was Xiaozuan and Yi Chen. The 4 keys were inserted at the same time, and the gate lit up with a blinding light. A wave of power blew the 4 away. The gate did not open immediately. Instead, 4 tiny light beams shot out, shooting toward Yi Chen and the other 3 at an extremely fast speed. Yi Chen's eyes and hands were quick as he reached out his hand to grab the light beam. Opening his hand, he saw a jade scroll. Jade scroll? Yi-Chen looked confused. According to what he knew, jade scrolls usually stored profound sense martial arts or high-rank secret arts. Turning his head to look at Dantai Mingyue and the other two, Yi-Chen found that they had each gotten a jade scroll as well. All of them had strange expressions on their faces. Jade scroll. It must be 4 extremes Emperor's martial art. Getting the keys has so many benefits. Everyone's breathing quickened, wishing that they could go and snatch it. However, they did not dare to do it openly and could only look at it secretly. Let's learn it first. Yi-Chen poured his soul power into the jade scroll. At the same time, a group of uninvited guests appeared in the 4 graveyards ahead. This group of uninvited guests was too powerful. Their figures flickered as if they were teleporting, appearing anywhere. Even the walls of the passage couldn't stop them. They were not ordinary people but genuine life and death kings. Our luck is not bad. We actually encountered 4 heterogeneous beings at once. This should be a ghost shadow bat, right? It can be raised into a heterogeneous killer. This swamp king can protect the gate, and these 2 predators can produce countless thousand years spider silk. The hard wall of the tunnel rippled like water. An old man in black walked out of the wall. The old man in black looked normal, but when the Bat King was stared at by him, it felt its body go numb and it could not move. It's a life and death king. Damn it. How can a life and death king come here? The previously high-spirited ghost shadow Bat King's face was now filled with despair. Encountering a life and death king, escaping was already an extravagant hope. It couldn't even commit suicide. Squeak. The predators began to squeak, their small eyes filled with fear. Don't be afraid, I won't kill you. The black-robed old man waved his hand, and the ghost shadow Bat King's body was involuntarily pulled over. It then turned into a black light and entered the black-robed old man's beast token. After collecting the ghost shadow Bat King, the black-robed old man grabbed the Swamp King. Night Ghost King, leave this swamp creature to me. An earthen yellow ripple appeared on the opposite wall, and a tall middle-aged man with a majestic figure walked out. With a wave of his hand, the restriction the black-robed old man had placed on the Swamp King was immediately dispersed. Swamp King then arrived at the tall middle-aged man's side and was collected by him. Beast King, you dare to fight with me? The black-robed old man Night Ghost King's eyes narrowed, revealing his killing intent. This was the gaze of a super assassin, capable of dispelling the false and leaving the true, directly penetrating the soul. Why wouldn't I dare? The Beast King's body was covered with an earthy yellow halo. His body surface was full of cracks, looking very tough. It was obvious that compared to the time in the parallel space battlefield, the Beast King's cultivation had improved a lot. It should be because he had refined the 2 Earth Yuan crystals that he had traded with the Black Thunder King that his cultivation had increased by 40 years. Humph, only a fool would fight you head-on. But, be careful of dying under my assassination one day. The killing intent on the Night Ghost King's body disappeared in an instant. His cultivation base was similar to the Beast King's, but the latter cultivated Earth Zhen Yuan as well as Earth Profound. In terms of defense, he far surpassed kings of the same level. Moreover, the Night Ghost King specialized in assassination, so how could he confront the Beast King head-on? It was not his style. Say it if you have the ability. The Beast King didn't fear the Night Ghost King in the slightest. Life and death kings rarely fought to the death. After all, if they couldn't kill each other, they would gain an enemy who wouldn't be able to sleep at night. The remaining 2 predators shivered in front of the 2 genuine kings. How could they have the aura and ferocity of predators? They were like pitiful little rabbits. Collect. Collect. The Beast King and the Night Ghost King waved their hands, preparing to collect a predator each. However, things didn't go as smoothly as they thought. In the void, 2 large nets appeared out of nowhere, trapping the Beast King and the Night Ghost King. Who is it? The Beast King and the Night Ghost King were greatly alarmed. Someone capable of trapping them was naturally a life and death king. Moreover, their cultivation base was definitely above theirs. You 2 are quite daring to collect the Spider Clan in front of me. Above the passageway, black ripples flowed, and a throne descended. The throne was tied to a thin thread, and sitting on the throne was a beautiful young woman in a black robe. Her lips were purplish red, and there were 4 eyes on her forehead. They were tightly shut, making her look both beautiful and dangerous. Black Mountain Queen. The Night Ghost King's figure twisted and fell off the spider web. His brows creased as he thought of retreating. This Black Mountain Queen was not a human, but a demonic beast king cultivated from a spider beast. At the same level, the strength of a demonic beast king was above that of a human. What was more frightening was that this Black Mountain Queen's cultivation base was at least 800 years. Even if the two of them worked together, they wouldn't be her opponent. Black Mountain Queen, those who don't know are innocent. These two predators are yours. The Beast King used a method to struggle free from the spider web and said helplessly. The Black Mountain Queen didn't reply. Sitting on the throne, she said to the two predators, "Little fellows, you're lucky to have met me. Otherwise, you'd have become someone else's pet." Hearing the word pet, memories and hatred flickered in the Black Mountain Queen's eyes. Buzz. As the three confronted each other, a spatial ripple radiated from the distance. The boundless aura made the three unable to resist. Chapter 750. It's Xianhou. The Beast King muttered. Back in the planar battlefield, a will projection of Xianhou had already made them feel threatened. Now that Xianhou had personally arrived, her aura was much stronger than a will projection. Regarding Xuanhou's matters, it would take more than 3 days and 3 nights to finish. They only knew that she was the youngest life and death king in 1,000 years, several times younger than the Beast King. However, in terms of strength, the Beast King couldn't even catch up. Many people couldn't imagine how Xianhou, who had only become a life and death king for a few years, already possessed the strength of a peak king, comparable to the likes of Dragon King, Evil King and Prison King. Monstrous aptitude, peak king strength and unfathomable methods made Xuanhou's prestige extremely formidable, enough to make all kings apprehensive. One could well imagine the pressure the three were under. Since Xianhou has come, the others will definitely come as well. Black Mountain Queen was used to being arrogant, but in front of a woman like Xianhou, she had to lower her head. The source of the spatial ripple was very far away, probably still at the entrance of the Forbidden Region. Ordinary life and death kings would need about the time to brew a cup of tea, while peak kings would need 1/3 of that time. After all, the space in the Forbidden Region was extremely stable, and the speed of traversing through space was much slower than the outside world. This was especially true in the graveyard where arrays operated. Even life and death kings had to enter through the entrance. If they tried to force their way in, they would activate all the arrays, even those of 4 Extreme Emperor's graveyard. After putting away the 2 hunters, Black Mountain Queen didn't make things difficult for the Beast King and Night Ghost King. Sitting on the throne, she flew forward, the solid walls of the passage acting as if they didn't exist. In front of the entrance of 4 Extreme Emperor's graveyard, Yi Chen's face revealed a shocked expression. What he had obtained was neither a profound martial skill nor a secret art, but the foundation of space profound, which was even more precious than profound martial skills and secret arts. Emperor 4 Extreme's attainment in the profound of space is definitely at the great perfection level. It has already reached the point where there is no room for improvement. Just one more step and it would be the heavenly Tao laws. The profound of space that he concluded will make it easier for me to comprehend it. In order to form the foundation of a certain profundity, one had to reach perfection in that profundity. Otherwise, there would be mistakes and misunderstandings in the foundation of the profundity. Taking a step back, if one's profundity had not reached perfection, it would be impossible to form the foundation of a profundity, because even he himself did not fully understand it. Emperor 4 Extremes is indeed a peerless genius. Space Profound is one of the most powerful profounds. Once completed, the Space Profound martial skill created will be extremely powerful. At the very least it will be a top-rank one. With this Space Profound as the foundation, my Space Profound will be able to reach the minor realm in a short period of time. Right now, Yi Chen's Space Profound realm had stopped at 28%, not far from minor completion. However, there were 3 most difficult stages in the Profound realm: minor completion, major completion, and complete completion. According to Yi Chen's original estimation, it would take him at least half a year to reach minor completion. I wonder what the other 3 have obtained? Yi Chen turned his head to look at Dan Tai Mingyue and the other 2. The 3's expressions were strange. Jiang Tian seemed to have obtained something good, tightly clenching his fists as a sharp light flickered in his eyes. Xia Hozuan was in high spirits, emitting an ambitious aura. As for Dan Tai Mingyue, she turned her head to look at Yi Chen and faintly smiled. The 3 of them have obtained quite a lot. Right, everyone has a key. It's impossible for me to be the only one who obtained the greatest benefit. According to the ranking of keys, Dan Tai Mingyue's harvest is also better than mine. However, this has nothing to do with me. Who cares what others have obtained? As long as my harvest is satisfactory, it's fine. The foundation of Space Profound was extremely precious. After reaching the life and death realm, regardless of whether one was willing or not, one would need to understand some space profound. After all, everyone lived in a space. Who killed my Gu family's half-step king? Bang! The space in the center of the four extremities square shattered like a mirror, and a terrifying aura of destruction leaked out from the shattered space, causing the airflow in the entire square to become abnormally violent. At the same time, a yellow-robed elder walked out, his eyes filled with killing intent. Destruction King. The Gu family's Destruction King is here. Everyone was shocked. The Gu family had two life and death kings, East King and Destruction King. The yellow-robed old man was precisely the Destruction King. The Destruction King had not come for Iron Hand King's revenge. Of course, if the opponent's background was too weak, then it would be a different story. He had come for the bronze armor, which was a pseudo-extreme grade artifact that couldn't be bought even with spirit stones. How could the Gu family let it fall into the hands of others? 4 ordinary life and death kings, a pseudo-extreme grade artifact was equivalent to an extreme grade artifact. Only an ancient family like the Gu family, which had once produced the East King, could have an extra pseudo-extreme grade artifact for a half-step king to wear. However, this didn't mean that the Gu family didn't care about pseudo-extreme grade artifacts. On the contrary, they cared a lot about pseudo-extreme grade artifacts. When the Destruction King appeared, many other life and death kings arrived as well. Among them, there were also half-step kings who had died miserably in the Forbidden Area. However, they didn't act like the Destruction King, oppressing the enemy with their strength. The main reason was that the half-step kings they dispatched didn't have pseudo-extreme grade artifacts. Moreover, which half-step king in the Forbidden Area didn't have a backer? If they acted ruthlessly, it would be the same as declaring war on the opponent's backer. The Destruction King is here. I wonder if East King is here as well. Perhaps he's here, but he's hiding in the dark, quietly observing the situation. Or perhaps he hasn't. All of the life and death kings who had arrived started to discuss secretly. The true spirit continent's king warriors were divided into 4 levels. The first level would be titled King Warriors, the second would be Top King Warriors, the third would be Top King Warriors, and the fourth would be Normal King Warriors. Although the Gu family was not one of the top 4 families, they were not that much weaker. Especially East King, who had already been a top king warrior since a long time ago. None of the top 4 families would dare to look down on the Gu family. Even the top warriors of the true spirit continent considered the Gu family as the 5th top family. Senior Destruction King, I know who killed the Iron Hand King. The plaza was quiet for a while before a voice was heard. The Destruction King looked toward the source of the voice. Meanwhile, most of the people also looked toward the source of the voice. Yi Qin frowned. He could tell that the speaker was Jiang Tian. Who are you? The Destruction King asked. Jiang Tian said proudly, My name is Jiang Tian. My teacher is the North Sea Air Emperor. The disciple of the North Sea Air Emperor. All of the life and death king's expressions toward Jiang Tian changed. Jiang Tian was nothing to them, but his teacher, the Air Emperor, was extremely famous. He was a peerless king warrior who could be compared to Su King. However, he had always lived in the North Sea. Therefore, normal people on the true spirit continent did not know about the Air Emperor. So, you are the disciple of the Air Emperor. Do you know who killed my Gu family's half-step king warriors? The Destruction King's voice turned gentle. Jiang Tian looked at Yi Qin. When the Iron Hand King died, I was there. My teacher's right-hand man, the Windstorm King, also died in his hands. And that person is him. Jiang Tian pointed his finger at Yi Qin. It is him. Everyone's gaze landed on Yi Qin again. Late Sea of Soul Realm? Some of the life and death kings couldn't help but frown. A young man with Late Sea of Soul Realm cultivation base had killed 2 half-step king warriors. This kind of achievement was indeed shocking. It is Yi Qin. Yi Qin killed the Iron Hand King and the Windstorm King. So horrifying. The life and death kings could not recognize Yi Qin, but the other half-step king warriors and top master level warriors did. They were all shocked. Yi Qin. Murong Qingqing was a bit nervous as she reached out her hand to hold Yi Qin's hand. Yi Qin let out a light breath and said to Murong Qingqing, Don't worry, he will not do anything to me. Yi Qin, don't worry. He will only scare you a little. Qing Lu had also killed a couple of half-step king warriors, but she did not care at all. If there was competition, there would be death. Plus, it was just a Gu family, so what could they do? This guy is Yi Qin, right? Right next to Dantai Mingyue, a beautiful middle-aged lady appeared out of nowhere. Her qi was extremely powerful, seeming to be even more powerful than all the life and death kings present. Yes, great-grandma. Tantai Mingyue nodded. This middle-aged lady was none other than the life and death realm warrior of the Tantai family, the Moon Queen, who was also the current leader of the family. Before the mysterious queen appeared, the Moon Queen could be counted as the #1 human queen. Her power was unfathomable. Only with the Moon Queen could the Tantai family stand firmly as one of the top 4 families. Indeed an outstanding young man. The Moon Queen admired Yi Chen a lot. She was very clear about Yi Chen's achievements. She was amazed that there was a genius like Yi Chen in this world, who could even beat the Bright Moon and the Dugu family's brat. So you are Yi Chen? According to the rumors outside, you are so powerful. Seeing you today, I can see that you are indeed something. But you killed my Gu family's half-step king warrior and took his bronze armor. Aren't you looking down on my Gu family too much? The Destruction King froze a bit. After knowing Yi Chen's identity, he had already given up on the idea of killing him. After all, he did not want to take revenge for the Iron Hand King in the first place. He only wanted to take back the bronze armor and make him suffer a bit. The Iron Hand King wanted to kill me, so I killed him. The bronze armor was my trophy. Yi Chen's answer was very simple. The Iron Hand King wanted to kill him, so of course he would not let him. As for the bronze armor, it was his trophy. Of course, it was not that there was no room for negotiation. You have guts. But your words do not matter at all. How about this? You hand over the bronze armor and come back with me to the Gu family to apologize. I can let you go. The bronze armor is my trophy. If your Gu family wants it back, you have to at least give me some compensation. As for apologizing to the Gu family, I can't do that. I don't think I did anything wrong. I'm afraid you will not be able to bargain. The Destruction King did not have the intention to negotiate with Yi Chen at all. His eyes turned sharp. Destruction King, what do you want? Qing Lu walked out. Leader of the mysterious martial school, this has nothing to do with your school. The Destruction King was very scared of the Xianhou behind Qing Lu, so he was still polite to her. What do you mean it has nothing to do with my school? Just when Qing Lu was about to say something, a wave of space vibration appeared in the sky above the plaza. A luxurious space door appeared. It's her. The Moon Queen lifted up her head, her eyes shining brightly, causing the space in front of her to twist. Chapter 751. From the spatial gate, a white-robed woman walked out. As she walked out, the berserk chi flow on the plaza immediately calmed down, as if a mouse seeing a cat, unable to move. The white-robed woman's eyes were like stars, and her fine black hair cascaded down like a waterfall. Although her expression was calm and emotionless, she gave off an aura that disdained the whole world. Numerous life and death kings paled in comparison before her. Xianhou Yen Qingxian had arrived. Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath. Every time he saw Xianhou, he had a different feeling. The first time he saw Xianhou, Xianhou was like an ordinary woman feeding the fish by the pond. She didn't give off any special aura. Seeing Xianhou this time, Yi Chen recalled the shock he felt when he saw Xuanhou's portrait for the first time. The Xianhou in the portrait gave off the same feeling, a peerless beauty that looked down on the whole world. Destruction King, you want to bring Yi Chen to your Gu family to ask for forgiveness? Walking out of the spatial gate, Yi Chen looked at Destruction King. Destruction King's face twitched as he forced a smile. My Gu family's half-step king can't die in vain. Of course, my Gu family can't not give you and Dragon King face. I only want him to ask for forgiveness and won't make things difficult for him. If not for Xianhou and Dragon King, Destruction King would have long since killed Yi Chen. Asking him to go back to Gu family to ask for forgiveness was already giving the two a lot of face. If he dies, it's because his skill is inferior. How about this, if you can block one finger of mine without getting injured, I won't get involved in Yi Chen's matter. How about it? Xianhou said indifferently. One finger? Destruction King hesitated. If it were any other life and death king, not to mention one finger, he would have no fear even if they fought for 300 rounds. However, Xianhou was too powerful. Even one finger was not something an ordinary life and death king could block. What, you don't dare? Then don't mention this matter again. Xianhou snorted. Fine, one finger it is. I don't believe that you can do anything to me with one finger. Destruction King also had his own pride. His cultivation base was 600 years, while Xuanhou's cultivation base was at most 1,000 years. Most importantly, he was wearing an extreme-grade armor, and the gloves on his hands were also pseudo-extreme-grade artifacts. He believed that if he risked his life, he could block a finger attack from Xianhou. But the surface of the Destruction King's body lit up with a reddish-yellow light. The light was like silk, interweaving into a cocoon, firmly protecting the Destruction King inside. At the same time, the Destruction King lowered his body and clenched his right fist. On his wrist, rings of Zhen Yuan condensed into rings of light. These rings contained an extremely overbearing destruction profound, and each of them could flatten a small mountain range. At this moment, they were wrapped around the Destruction King's wrist. "Come." The King of Destruction roared, his eyes blazing like torches. "Looks like you're ready." Xianhou raised her right hand, and a transparent flame appeared on the tip of her right index finger. The moment the transparent flame appeared, the temperature of the plaza instantly dropped by 100 times. Layers of frost formed on the ground, and only the 4 Extreme Emperor's statue was not covered in frost. Ice Profound is actually not weaker than me. The Ice Pavilion Master also arrived. With his head full of white hair, his face was full of astonishment. Xuanhou's main Profound was not Ice Profound. In fact, it was rare to see Xianhou use Ice Profound in the past. Clearly, this Ice Profound was one of Xuanhou's auxiliary Profounds. "Take this." As Xianhou pointed her finger at the Destruction King, the transparent flame turned into a beam of light and shot out at a speed that was hard to perceive under life and death realm. "You're actually using Ice Profound to deal with me." The Destruction King was overjoyed. He fiercely punched out with his glove-covered right fist, and the Zhen Yuan rings on his wrist were added to his fist energy. An ice flower bloomed in the air. Destruction King's punch, which was powerful enough to flatten a mountain range, was completely frozen by the ice flower. Its kinetic energy was instantly reduced to 0, and after the ice flower froze the punch, it suddenly burst into a transparent halo. The Destruction King's right arm was instantly frozen by the halo. "What?" The Destruction King's face was full of fright. He straightened his left hand like a blade and slashed at his right shoulder. Gotcha. His right shoulder and right arm were severed and fell to the ground. Not only did they not shatter, they even froze the plaza, forming a layer of ice that was several meters thick. How is this possible? Ice Profound has also reached greater completion. The Ice Pavilion Master sucked in a breath of cold air. His main Profound was Ice Profound, and he was currently at greater completion. However, Ice Profound was clearly Xuanhou's auxiliary Profounds, and yet, it had also reached greater completion. It should be known that the higher one's Profound was, the harder it was to comprehend. It was normal for one to not make any progress for hundreds of years. Moreover, every tiny bit of progress would greatly increase one's battle strength. What a blow. Even her auxiliary Profounds have reached greater completion. How are others supposed to live? The Moon Empress smiled bitterly. The greater completion of Ice Profound did not move her. What moved her was the fact that her opponent's Ice Profound had reached greater completion, which meant that his main Profound might have already reached completion. Of course, there were different levels of profound meaning completion. The difference between a profound meaning that was easy to comprehend and a profound meaning that was hard to comprehend was huge. When 2 profound meaning completion warriors walked together and had the same cultivation base, one of them could be killed by the other in a second. This was the difference. But no matter what, being able to comprehend a profound to completion was already extremely shocking. Worthy of being Xianhou. Even a casual move has such power. Whoosh. Suddenly, a ball of light appeared beside the Destruction King. The ball of light quickly expanded to a few meters in size, and a figure walked out of it. East King. Xianhou looked at the figure walking out of the light sphere. This was a middle-aged man dressed in a scholar's robe with a quaint appearance. He had a pair of extremely long and narrow eyebrows and a pair of phoenix eyes. He waved his sleeves, and the frost on the ground was pushed away in all directions. The ice melted and melted, clearing up an empty space. It's East King. I didn't expect East King to also come. Right, since the graveyard of 4 Extreme Emperor has appeared, with East King's strength, how could he not interfere? In the eyes of many life and death kings, East King's weight was quite heavy. After all, there were only a few titled monarchs in True Spirit Continent and 4 shallow oceans, and the number of peak kings could be counted on 2 hands. East King could be considered a figure with considerable weight under peak kings. Are you all right? East King turned his head and looked at the one-armed Destruction King. I'm fine. Although Destruction King said so, he was inwardly alarmed. If he hadn't quickly cut off his right arm, that icy cold chi might have spread to his entire body. In that case, even if he didn't die, he would have suffered a near-death injury. Activating the undying body, the Destruction King's severed right arm quickly grew back. At the same time, the Destruction King's Zhen Yuan was also reduced by a small amount. This lost Zhen Yuan was not easy to recover, and it would take a long time if he were to rely on meditation and cultivation. East King, you also want to exchange a few moves with me? Xianhou flicked her sleeves and said. East King faintly smiled. There will be plenty of opportunities in the future. East King didn't have much confidence in exchanging moves with Xianhou, and he also felt that it was unnecessary. Exchanges between life and death kings had to be meaningful. If there was no meaning, very few people would exchange moves. Yichen, you're pretty good. I'll keep that bronze armor with you for the time being. East King glanced at Yichen. This glance gave Yichen an endless illusion, as if his entire being had been abandoned by the world and sunk into chaos. East King's gaze, without a trace of emotion, directly fell into Yichen's sea of soul. Since Senior East King says so, Yichen will reluctantly accept. Yichen was startled inwardly. In that instant, the world disappeared, leaving only East King's glance. Life and Death Kings have already grasped a trace of the mysteries of the soul. Even if they both have a fifth-step martial soul or sword soul, the might displayed by Life and Death Kings far surpasses those under Life and Death realm. This East King's martial will should be at the peak of the sixth step. Xianhou coldly snorted and didn't say anything. Suddenly, she raised her head and looked into the depths of the void. There, an extremely powerful aura was flying over. This aura was already powerful enough, but the following aura was even more powerful. It was as if the entire void was pressing down. Before the aura even arrived, a majestic aura filled the heaven and earth. The two auras clashed in the void. Everyone present quieted down, not daring to speak. Chapter 752. Yes, Master. Jiang Tian could sense the aura of his master, Air Emperor. As for the other one, he didn't need to guess to know that it was Su King. Only Su King could have such a magnificent aura that filled the heaven and earth. Two titled monarchs. Yichen had long heard of Su King's name and now he was about to meet him. As for Air Emperor, although his fame in the continent was far below Su King's, in the eyes of insiders, Air Emperor and Su King were naturally on the same level. Not only that, every Life and Death King present was a legendary figure in the eyes of ordinary people. The reason why he could see them was not because of luck, but because he had already touched upon this level. After all, the weakest here were peak master-level experts. Bang, bang. The sound of popping bubbles could be heard as two spatial halos appeared simultaneously. Within the spatial halos, two sovereigns of the world walked out, majestic and imposing. Just their silhouettes alone gave off a boundless pressure. They were like the heavens, like the earth, vast and boundless, commanding the universe. Air Emperor, Su King, descended at the same time. Ling Qianxu, after so many years, your strength has actually improved. Admirable. Air Emperor was a handsome middle-aged man with broad shoulders and slender waist. His broad shoulders seemed to be able to support the entire sky. His nose bridge was tall and straight, his lips thin and his eyes were like two black holes. His gaze was extremely focused, but one couldn't tell where he was looking at. With a single glance, one's soul would be sucked in. Your strength is truly unfathomable. I'm afraid in another 2 years, I won't be your opponent anymore. Su King was a middle-aged man dressed in luxurious clothes with a golden crown on his head. His eyes seemed to contain the void, devouring the heaven and earth. Although he was a bit inferior to Air Emperor in terms of unfathomable depth, Su King displayed an imposing aura that could devour mountains and rivers, encompassing the sun and moon. You're flattering me to death. Air Emperor faintly smiled as his gaze fell on the statue of 4 Extreme Emperor at the center of the plaza. Su King's gaze also fell on the statue. The Air Emperor sighed and said, although you and I have reached the same height compared to the ancients, we are still inferior. I wonder what kind of realm it is to take one step further. We'll know when we get there. Su King looked indifferent. That's true. The Air Emperor raised his head slightly. His eyes were filled with unimaginable ambition, desire, and dominance. Master. Jiang Tian walked over quickly and cupped his hands in greeting. Who killed Lian Feng? The Air Emperor nodded slightly and asked. Hearing that, Jiang Tian looked at Yichen. I understand. The Air Emperor turned his head to look at Yichen. Not bad, not bad. Yichen, your true spirit continent actually produced such a genius. Even your disciple can't compare. Su King said, I'm too lazy to care about the younger generation's business. Everyone has their own fortune. But your disciple seems to have suffered at his hands as well. That's right. The Air Emperor said as he glanced at Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian hurriedly lowered his head, looking ashamed. Air Emperor Su King. Xian Ho, sensing that something was wrong, stood out. Little girl, it's only been a few decades, but even I can't see through your qi anymore. Compared to the Air Emperor, Xian Ho and Yan Qingxian were indeed little girls. Xian Ho laughed. Not at all. Everyone says that I have the same power as you guys, but it's just a facade. In the eyes of the world, Xian Ho was too talented, which led to her popularity. Naturally, people would raise her to a higher level. But she herself did not see it that way. Titled monarchs were still titled monarchs. No matter how powerful a top king was, there was still a huge gap between them. This is not a compliment. I, Zhang Zhenkong, have not reached the point where I need to compliment others. The Air Emperor shook his head. He was indeed not complimenting Xian Ho and Yan Qingxian. In this era, there was no clear dividing line between titled monarchs and top kings. Moreover, Xuanho's power was indeed not to be underestimated. At their level, although cultivation and profound were important, it was not necessarily foolproof. There would always be some mysterious methods that could allow the weak to win against the strong. Life and death realm was a mysterious realm in itself. Xian Ho shook her head and smiled. She did not try to explain. Of course, although she did not have the confidence to fight against the Air Emperor Su King, at least she had the power to protect herself. Moving his eyes away from Xian Ho, the Air Emperor looked at Yi Chen again and said, I, Jiang Zhenkong, will not bully the weak, but I am not someone who does not care about my subordinates. Otherwise, who would be willing to work for me? You killed the Windstorm King because you are powerful enough. But before you killed him, you could have spared his life. It seems like I, Jiang Zhenkong, am still not powerful enough in this continent. Although the Air Emperor's voice did not contain any killing intent, once the group heard it, their hair stood up. And Yi Chen's breathing accelerated. The Air Emperor was going to punish them. Air Emperor. Xian Ho frowned. The Air Emperor did not even turn his head as he said, Little girl Yan, I can't just ignore this. But don't worry, I will not take his life, and I will not make him do things that he cannot do. Then what are you doing? A bad feeling flashed through Xuanho's mind, but she could not figure out what the Air Emperor meant. Senior, killing the Windstorm King was indeed an impulsive decision on my part. I wonder what kind of price you want me to pay? Yi Chen did not plan to argue with him. Arguing with a powerful titled king warrior would be a stupid thing to do. If he angered him, he would only sacrifice himself for nothing. The Air Emperor was a bit surprised as he said, Don't worry, this is actually a good thing for you. You should have gotten an extreme rank greatsword, right? Just as the Air Emperor finished his sentence, Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. He had not expected the Air Emperor to be able to see through his storage ring and see what was inside. It was a miraculous skill that he had never heard of before. How could he not be shocked? As expected, when Yi Chen looked around, he found that except for a small number of people, the expressions of the others had changed when they looked at him. Some were greedy, some were murderous, some were malicious, and some were gloating. Senior, Yi Chen was about to say something, wanting to fight for the last time. The Air Emperor shook his head. You do not need to test me. Your storage ring is only a mid-rank one. How could I not see through it? You know what I mean. If you want to live and redeem yourself for killing Lian Feng, then hand over that extreme rank greatsword. Otherwise, no one in this world can save you. There is indeed an extreme rank greatsword, but I didn't notice it. As the Air Emperor spoke, Su King also used his ability and saw through Yi Chen's storage ring. Inside Yi Chen's storage ring, the Sky Scorpio sword was hovering in the middle, emitting a purple halo. Purple crystals floated around it, looking magnificent and imposing. Air Emperor, this extreme rank greatsword is Yi Chen's personal spoils of war. Aren't you being a bit insincere? Apart from this extreme rank greatsword, I can agree to your other requests on his behalf. Xian Ho naturally wouldn't ask Yi Chen to hand over the Sky Scorpio sword. Not to mention the impact it would have on her reputation, just the extreme rank greatsword itself would be hard to make one willingly hand over. Once Yi Chen advanced to life and death realm, he would have an even greater strength. Little Yin, you know that I, Jiang Zhenkong, am a man of my words. I've already given you a lot of face. Otherwise, I wouldn't even need to make a move. I'd have absolute confidence in making him disappear from this world. The Air Emperor's voice was slightly cold. I naturally know this. However, this request, I can't comply. Empress Xian closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were cold. Behind her, layer after layer of spatial gates appeared. It was unknown how many there were. Interesting. Little Yin, what do you think I should do now? The Air Emperor's right hand behind his back lightly clenched into a fist. The surrounding space suddenly distorted and shattered, creating countless black wrinkles. The surrounding life and death kings were astonished. The Air Emperor didn't even circulate Zhen Yuan, and merely clenched his fist to shatter the void. This kind of method was simply unimaginable. Do what you have to do. Shenhe was crystal clear that it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to make the other give up. Since that was the case, there was no point in wasting words. She could only fight with all her might. Good. The Air Emperor loudly shouted and punched at Shenhe. Shenhe didn't fear it at all. The space gate behind her turned solid and swallowed Shenhe. From the Air Emperor's point of view, Shenhe, who was surrounded by layers of space gates, seemed endless and unreachable. Bang 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 bang. The Air Emperor's fist energy was vast and ferocious, shattering layer after layer of space gates. It seemed as if nothing could obstruct his fist energy. However, the Air Emperor's destruction was fast, and the space gates were also fast. They maintained a balance, preventing the fist energy from closing in on Shenhe. This is the mysterious 10,000-layer gate? The Air Emperor squinted his eyes, his expression turning grave. The others also couldn't help but admire Shenhe. Xuanhe's mysterious Tao was broad, profound, and incomparably mysterious. Compared to the previous cultivator of the mysterious Tao, the mysterious king, she wasn't inferior in any way. Moreover, it had something of Xuanhe's own. Watching from the side, Su Qing's expression was indifferent. The battle between the Air Emperor and Shenhe was of great value to him. It would allow him to somewhat estimate the bottom line of the Air Emperor and Shenhe. Although the mysterious 10,000-layer gate is said to be unbreakable, it might not be able to stop me. The aura on the Air Emperor's body grew even more powerful. Clearly he was about to go all out. However, right at this moment, the Air Emperor suddenly stopped and gazed at the void. Haha, Jiang Zhenkong, why the need to make such a big fuss? Let's just sit down and talk. An incomparably frightening aura suddenly appeared. The entire sky above the plaza twisted and overlapped. Immediately, a pressure even more powerful than that of Su Qing and the Air Emperor descended from the sky. Not to mention those below life and death realm, even some ordinary kings felt their bodies become much heavier. How many years of cultivation base is this? 1,500 years? 2,000 years? It's the Dragon King. Only the Dragon King's cultivation base can surpass the Air Emperor and Su Qing. The Dragon King has also come. Seems like his closed-door cultivation has succeeded. Everyone's thoughts turned at lightning speed, immediately guessing who the newcomer was. Although the Dragon King wasn't a titled monarch, he was the oldest monarch of the human race. Nobody knew how deep his cultivation base was. All they knew was that his cultivation base was something even titled monarchs couldn't compare to. For a long time, the Dragon King had the title of number one under titled monarchs. Some even considered him an actual titled monarch. The old Dragon King has also come. Qing Lu let out a sigh of relief, a happy expression on her face. Chapter 753. Kacha. A crack appeared in the space above the Four Extremes Plaza, and the benevolent-looking old Dragon King walked out. His hair was white, but his spirit was excellent, as if he could live for many more years. His spirit, chi, and soul were even more vigorous than those young life and death kings. Senior Dragon King. Yi Qin and the rest greeted. Dragon King waved his hand and smiled at Yi Qin. Yi Qin, your senior Air Emperor is just joking with you. Don't take it to heart. Joking? That's not necessarily true. Air Emperor was naturally not joking with Yi Qin. However, he was quite apprehensive of Dragon King. After living for more than 1,000 years, nobody knew what tricks Dragon King had up his sleeves. He had the confidence to defeat Dragon King, but he also believed that he would have to pay a disastrous price. Most importantly, he didn't have the confidence to deal with both Dragon King and Shenhe at the same time. Air Emperor, I'm very sorry about Windstorm King's death. But the winner takes all. It's that simple. We've also come this far. Shenhe dispersed the mysterious 10,000 layers gate and walked out of the void. What a good winner takes all. Fine, I'll give old Dragon King and Yen Girl some face today and not lower myself to your level. But that might not be the case in the future. Air Emperor retracted his oppressive aura and said with an indifferent tone. The graveyard of Four Extremes Emperor had already opened, and the things inside that could catch his eye were few and far between. If he were to fight with Shenhe and Dragon King for a supreme grade sword, it would instead benefit Su Qing. He didn't have the confidence to come out unscathed under the joint attack of Xianhou and Dragon King. Hearing these words, Dragon King smiled. Yi Chen, why aren't you thanking Senior Heir Emperor? Many thanks to Senior Heir Emperor for not taking it to heart. Yi Chen was also a person who knew when to advance and when to retreat. In front of absolute strength, one had to lower one's head. This had nothing to do with surrendering. No need to thank me. Just for today. The Heir Emperor waved his hand and no longer looked at Yi Chen. As they spoke, more and more life and death kings arrived. There were peak kings like Evil King and Prison King, as well as some solitary kings. There were also some kings that no one had ever heard of. They should be the kind of hidden kings that no one had heard of. Yi Chen, after we get out, you should bid farewell to your family and prepare to leave the continent. Xianhou waved her sleeve, creating an invisible barrier to prevent others from hearing their voices. Qingxian is right. There are many kings on True Spirit Continent. Just human kings alone number more than 100. Adding the foreign kings, it's very complicated. The matter of you having the Sky Scorpio sword is no longer a secret. Staying on True Spirit Continent will be extremely dangerous. Qingxian and Old Dragon King can't appear in front of you at any time. Qing Lu also said. Yi Chen nodded. I have already prepared for this. It is time to leave the continent. He had offended a lot of life and death kings. Although these life and death kings were quite afraid of Xianhou and Dragon King, and would not dare to kill him in public, but if they wanted to assassinate him, they would have plenty of methods. In this world, relying on others would always be a waste. Relying on oneself was the way to go. I will go with you. Murong Qingqing held Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen turned his head and smiled. With the woman he loved accompanying him, it did not matter where he went. Yi Chen, don't worry. No one will dare to touch your family and no one will break this taboo. Our Dragon God Celestial Palace will also ensure their safety. Dragon King continued, as for Su Jing, you do not need to worry. She is different from you. When you meet again you will know who she is. At that time, you will have to rely on yourselves to protect yourselves. Remember, before you become a life and death king, you better not come back. Not everyone wants you to become a life and death king, and I do not have many years left to live. Senior Dragon King. Yi Chen looked worried. Dragon King smiled as he waved his hand. After living for 1,000 years, I have no regrets. If I can see you guys grow before I die, it would be the best. If you have the heart, perhaps the Dragon God Celestial Palace will depend on you to preserve it. Yi Chen said seriously, Senior, don't worry. As long as Yi Chen has one breath left, I will not let the Dragon God Celestial Palace disappear. Of course, Senior, you will definitely live well. You have made it through so many times already. Dragon King said, impossible. Nothing can happen more than 3 times. I know my own situation the best. Right then Xianhou sighed, this is a great era and also a time of chaos. No one knows what will happen in the future. Yi Chen, Murong Feng, you 3 are the martial geniuses I think highly of. You have to work hard and control your own destiny. Master, I will. Yan Fengfeng's expression was resolute. Yi Chen and Murong will as well. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing exchanged a glance and nodded. All right, you won't be able to interfere in the following matters. Remember, leave True Spirit Continent as soon as possible. The farther, the better. Xianhou didn't want to scare them too much, but she still had to give them the necessary pressure. Senior, farewell. Yi Chen was also not a wishy-washy person. He cupped his fists and left. Watching Yi Chen and the rest leave, Dragon King said, everyone has their own destiny. It's up to them now. He is not a fish in a pond. Xianhou had never been able to see through Yi Chen. Yi Chen's future accomplishments were unfathomable. Leaving the graveyard, Yi Chen's group of 5 returned the way they came. Soon they exited the forbidden region and arrived in the outside world. Yi Chen, I have no worries. I'm going to leave True Spirit Continent now. However, I'm going to the deep ocean beyond the western shallow ocean. If you're going in the same direction as me, we might meet in the deep ocean. Sun Tianlang didn't have a strong backer. If he didn't leave, only death would await him. Therefore he had to leave True Spirit Continent. Brother Sun, I've implicated you this time. Yi Chen was very apologetic. Sun Tianlang said unhappily, what are you saying? If not for you guys, I would have died in there long ago. This life of mine was picked up and I even obtained many benefits. Yi Chen, if you treat me as a friend, even an ordinary one, don't mention these things in the future. Alright, I won't mention it. Yi Chen also felt that he was being too blunt. In that case, we'll meet again someday. I hope I can also step into life and death realm in my lifetime. Sun Tianlang laughed heartily and sped away. After one of them left, Yi Qin and the other three were heading in the same direction, so they headed back together. Not far away from the mysterious martial school, the four were about to separate as well. Yi Qin will meet again someday. Yan Fengfeng, who was standing on top of the mountain, said, "The next time we meet, I hope we will all be life and death realm warriors." Definitely. After going through thick and thin together, Yi Qin had already treated Yan Fengfeng as his best friend. It was the kind of person who would do anything for each other without any reason. Yi Qin live on. Qing Lu was their senior, so she reminded him. The Sky Martial region was quite a distance away from the South Rudra region. Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing got on the flying puppet, flying at 10 times the speed of sound. On the back of the flying puppet, Murong Qingqing said, "Yi Qin, time is running out. You don't have to go back with me. I can go back by myself." "Then be careful." Yi Qin felt that it was reasonable. "Yeah, right, where are we going after leaving this land?" Murong Qingqing asked. Yi Qin looked to the south and said, "I have a couple of friends there. Let's go to the South Shallow Ocean first, then to the Endless Ocean. Let's meet up in the South Rudra region Sky South Nation." The Sky South Nation was one of the small nations in the South Rudra region. It was close to the South Shallow Ocean, and was not that far away from the Windy Nation. All right. After separating from Murong Qingqing, Yi Qin immediately flew toward the Yi family. "Yi family, you are leaving the land?" Yi Tianhao was confused. Yi Qin had to tell his parents some things. Although Shen Yuqing looked reluctant, he still said, "Remember, be careful out there. When it is time to back off, you still have to back off a bit. Otherwise you might make too many enemies." "Mother, I understand. Father, you don't have to worry. This time I'll be leaving the continent. I'll be back in 5 years at most. For us martial artists, 5 years is very short. Astral reaching experts could live up to 200 years. Yi Qin had left behind a lot of resources for his parents and Yi family. Charging into the Sea of Soul realm was not without hope. Once one became a Sea of Soul realm expert, they would have a lifespan of 300 years. 5 years compared to 300 years was indeed not worth mentioning. Moreover, with his younger brother and sister here, Yi Qin could also leave without worry. "Alright, as long as you're safe." Yi Tianhao and Shen Yuqing's faces were filled with both reluctance and pride. Yi Qin was already a legend of true spirit continent. As Yi Qin's parents, they had long since been satisfied. Returning to Sky Cloud sect, Yi Qin couldn't help but sigh at the changes. Compared to the old Sky Cloud sect, the current Sky Cloud sect was more than 10 times larger. The experts in the sect were like clouds in the sky. From one astral reaching expert, it had grown to dozens, especially the core disciples who were all at the astral reaching realm. Among them, the well-known figures like Luo Hanshan, Zhu Mei, and Zhang Haoren had even reached the Sea of Soul realm. Even without Yi Qin, Sky Cloud sect was already an influential 6th grade sect in South Rudra region. Of course, all of this was brought about by Yi Qin. Geniuses needed both talent and resources. Only with sufficient resources could one display their talent to the fullest. After all, not everyone could have a heaven-defying opportunity. Some geniuses with bad luck, because they didn't have enough resources, had their progress slowed. Seeing Yi Qin, these disciples of the same generation as Yi Qin were deeply moved. Although they didn't have Yi Qin's achievements, they were already independent experts in South Rudra region, which had long surpassed their dreams. How could they not understand that the rise of Sky Cloud sect was because of Yi Qin? Back then, when Yi Qin obtained the first place in the Hidden Dragon ranking, it had already brought a huge fortune to Sky Cloud sect. Yi Qin, be careful. As the leader of Sky Cloud sect, Luo Hanshan had taken his former senior sister, Zhu Mei, as his wife. The two already had a child, a girl. Next to him, Zhu Mei, who had a more mature temperament, smiled and said, "You will always be the pride of Sky Cloud sect. Luo Hanshan and I often reminisce about the times when we were both disciples." Yi Qin was too different. It was impossible for Zhu Mei to say that she didn't have a crush on Yi Qin. In fact, most of the girls in Sky Cloud sect had a crush on Yi Qin. However, they could only keep it in their hearts because Yi Qin and they were not in the same world after all. Yi Qin chuckled. Sometimes he also liked to reminisce. "Yi Qin, take care." Zhang Haoren, who had become more mature, patted Yi Qin's shoulder. "I will." Yi Qin turned his head to look at Wu Zongming, then looked at the disciples of the same generation as him. He revealed a smile, then turned around and flew out of the windy mountain. Sky South Nation, on a mountain peak near the sea, Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing were standing on the mountain peak hand in hand, looking at the sea in the distance. A red sun was slowly rising up, stretching the two's shadows, their clothes fluttering in the wind. Chapter 754. The South Shallow Ocean is not as complicated as the continent and the other shallow oceans. There is only a South Shallow Ocean alliance made up of countless forces. Of course, it is not because the people here are united but because of the threat from the deep ocean. When he first came to the South Shallow Ocean, Yi Qin had not reached the Sea of Souls realm yet, and he was chased by the Ao family. This time Yi Qin was already at late Sea of Souls realm, and his power had reached the top half-step king warrior level. But, thinking back to the battle at the bottom of the ocean, he still felt a lingering fear. That battle was not a battle of one force against another, but a battle between the South Shallow Ocean Alliance and all the forces in the deep ocean. He had only participated in the initial battle, and the two sides had not gotten serious yet. Where are we going? Yi Qin had not told Murong Qingqing anything about the South Shallow Ocean, so Murong Qingqing did not know what they were here for. I have some connections with the Water Ape Mansion. Let's go there first. It had been a couple of years and he wondered how Sun Xiaojin and Wang Snake were doing. Above the boundless ocean, a flying puppet carrying two figures broke through the sky. The Water Ape Mansion is down there. Yi Qin was about to put away the flying puppet when he suddenly squinted his eyes. Eat my staff. Below, the ocean water started to rumble as a silver iron staff grew longer and longer. Eventually, it carried the power of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, turning into a sky pillar that attacked at Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing. Although Murong Qingqing's power was also at the half-step king warrior level, facing this attack she still felt like she had nowhere to run. In her sight besides this staff there was nothing else. It is an old friend. Yi Qin smiled lightly as he took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and threw out a sword attack. As the sword was waved out, the sky suddenly darkened, and the sword light shone like a rainbow. Dang! The staff and sword clashed, and Yi Qin could not help but let out a cry of surprise. He could not help but take a couple of steps back, and the shockwave cut off a layer of ocean water within 100 miles. Rumble. A water pillar soared into the sky, and within it was a chaotic world ape. This ape held a silver iron rod in his hand. He had long arms and legs and his bulging muscles were filled with explosive power. His fangs extended from his upper lip, and they were abnormally sharp. His golden pupils gave off an incomparably fierce and oppressive feeling. Brother Sun, you gave me such a big gift right off the bat. Yi Qin stopped retreating and said with a smile. The chaotic ape was of course Sun Xiaojin. The black fur on his body had turned into a silver-black color, and his body had become slightly thinner. However, he seemed to have become even more powerful and vicious. Compared to before, his pressure had increased by more than 10 times. An ape-type demonic beast? Murong Qingqing suddenly understood. Yi Qin introduced the two. Murong, this is Sun Xiaojin from the Water Ape Cave. He had saved my life before. Brother Sun, this is my girlfriend, Murong Qingqing. After the two got to know each other, Sun Xiaojin started to study Yi Qin, his pair of golden pupils rolling around. Brother Yi, are you at late Sea of Souls realm? Indeed. Yi Qin nodded. Sun Xiaojin continued to say, I am already a half-step beast king. I did not expect that my unexpected stick attack could only make you back a couple of steps. Ever since the battle at the bottom of the ocean started, it had never ended. Sun Xiaojin had gone through thousands of battles, and his cultivation had increased drastically. He had reached the half-step beast king realm a year ago, and the red-gold ape bloodline inside his body had been mostly activated, which had turned his black fur into silver-black color and his pupils into gold. His battling power was way more powerful than normal half-step beast kings. Yi Qin had just arrived at the Water Ape Cave when Sun Xiaojin knew about it. He wanted to test Yi Qin's power, which was why the scene just now had happened. However, what surprised him was that even though he had improved a lot, Yi Qin's improvement was not any weaker than his. Facing his unexpected stick attack, Yi Qin had only taken half a step back, and his face was not even red or out of breath. Not really surprising. There are not many half-step king warriors who can make me take a couple of steps back. Brother Sun is one of them. Yi Qin sighed at Sun Xiaojin's potential. Although Yen Fengfeng was a top rank warrior, which was a bit more powerful than Sun Xiaojin, under the same realm, her battling power might not be as powerful as Sun Xiaojin's. It was not that Blue Phoenix's potential was not that great, but it could only be said that Yen Fengfeng's flame control was very powerful, while the red gold ape bloodline was born for killing. You are the guest today, so I will not challenge you. But after today we will definitely have a battle. If it were someone else, Sun Xiaojin would not bother to challenge them at all. But it was Yi Qin. Sun Xiaojin's fighting spirit was very high. For him, winning against Yi Qin would be more meaningful than winning against 10 or even 100 half-step king warriors. Yi Qin chuckled, not minding Sun Xiaojin's straightforwardness at all. Inside the water ape cave, the leader of the water ape race, Sun Tai, laughed. Yi Qin, I was not wrong about you after all. He had seen the exchange between Sun Xiaojin and Yi Qin. Seriously speaking, Sun Xiaojin and Yi Qin were evenly matched, and there was a whole realm difference between the two. Senior Sun, you are flattering me. Yi Qin held his fists together. You did not come to visit us this time, did you? Sun Tai ordered people to bring some fruits and tea for Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing as he asked. Yi Qin said, I have offended some king warriors, so I have to leave the continent for a while to explore the outside world. This time I came to visit Senior and Brother Sun, and Wang Snake and Wang Mei are the other two. I will leave in a day or two. Sun Tai nodded. It is good to explore the outside world. The outside world is huge, and it would be impressive if I could explore 10 or 20% of it in my life. After drinking tea for a while, Wang Snake and Wang Mei arrived. Brother Yi. Hello, Brother Yi. Wang Snake and Wang Mei had just entered the hall when they saw Yi Qin. Wang Snake could not help but reveal a joyful expression as he walked up to him. Yi Qin stood up, patted Wang Snake's shoulder and said with a smile, It has been a long time and you have grown up. When he left, Wang Snake was still a teenager. Brother Yi, are you taking us away? Wang Snake had a bit of expectation on his face. The people in the water ape cave had been nice to them, but Yi Qin had done him a favor that he would never forget. He had always wanted to explore the world with Yi Qin. Yi Qin shook his head and said, No, maybe next time. The deep ocean was too dangerous and having more people was not necessarily a good thing. I see. A disappointed look flashed through Wang Snake's eyes. He then noticed Murong Qingqing, who was standing right next to Yi Qin, and asked, Brother Yi, who is this? She is Murong Qingqing, my girlfriend. Hello, sister-in-law. Wang Snake said obediently. Hello. There was a bit of shyness on Murong Qingqing's face. Alright, after so many years, you two have already reached the Sea of Souls realm. Let me see how powerful you are. Yi Qin was trying to test the two's power. Alright. Wang Snake nodded immediately. On the wide open space in the cave, there was a circle of water apes, including Sun Tai and Sun Xiaojin. In the field, Yi Qin said to Wang Snake and Wang Mei, You two attack at the same time. I will only use early Sea of Souls realm cultivation to fight you two. The two's cultivation had increased way too fast, especially Wang Snake, who had somehow managed to catch up and reach mid-Sea of Souls realm. Of course it was because of the blood crystal, but it was still not normal. Although the realm was increasing fast, the power might not be as fast. Brother Yi, we are going to attack now. Wang Snake and Wang Mei knew that Yi Qin was very powerful. They had the nine-headed snake bloodline, and normal late Sea of Souls realm warriors would not be their opponents. However, if it were Yi Qin, they would have to use all of their power to make Yi Qin satisfied. Yi Qin nodded. Fire Snake Dance. Wind Snake Kill. Wang Snake had trained the Fire Profound. Combined with his nine-headed snake bloodline, his attacking power was shocking. Wang Mei had trained the Wind Profound, which worked together with Wang Snake. Yi Qin shook his head as he pointed out a sharp finger. The two Jinyuan snakes were cut in half. Use all of your power. Your understanding of the profound is still a bit low. With only early Sea of Souls realm cultivation, Yi Qin was confident that he could kill the two within a second with that finger attack. But it was not enough to satisfy him. Alright. Wang Snake and Wang Mei started to get serious as the chi on their bodies increased drastically. Meanwhile, two huge snake shadows appeared in the void behind them. One was 8-headed while the other was 7-headed. The 8-headed snake shadow belonged to Wang Snake. Wang Mei's was slightly weaker, but it was still very powerful. The 8-headed snake and 7-headed snake were wrapped in blazing flames and sharp gales. The 15 snake heads attacked Yi Qin separately, dazzling everyone's eyes. Ding 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 ding. Yi Qin flicked the heads of the snakes away with his fingers. Go! Suddenly, Wang Snake's 8-headed snake shadow extended another head, turning into a 9-headed snake shadow. The 9 heads moved in a mysterious pattern, attacking toward Yi Qin at the same time. At that moment, time seemed to have stopped. These 9 heads were not as simple as numbers. Perfect half-demon bloodline. Yi Qin was surprised. He did not expect that Wang Shi could improve the nine-headed Hydra bloodline to the perfect level, which was the same as Murong Qingqing's perfect demonic bloodline. Break. With a finger as black as ink, Yi Qin destroyed the force field created by the nine-headed Hydra phantom. Brother Yi, we can't win. Wang's snake backed out dozens of steps and said. Yi Qin said, not bad. But, you guys have been focusing too much on the nine-headed Hydra bloodline, and your understanding of the profound is a bit low. Alright, Wang Snake, it seems like you have already reached the perfect nine-headed Hydra bloodline. Brother Yi, I have refined 3 bloodline crystals and just stabilized the perfect nine-headed Hydra bloodline. Wang Snake and Wang Mei were very confident at the beginning, thinking that they could follow behind Yi Qin and not drag him down. But now it seemed like they had been thinking too much. Yi Qin had restricted his cultivation to early Sea of Souls realm and used his finger as a sword, yet he could still beat them easily. They were not even at the same level. After testing Wang Snake and Wang Mei's power, Sun Xiaojin could not help but want to try. Yi Qin could tell that Sun Xiaojin could not wait anymore, so he suggested to fight outside the cave. Sun Xiaojin, who was already a half-step beast king, was very powerful. He was definitely a top half-step beast king. Fighting head-on, even Yi Qin was slightly weaker than him. But once Yi Qin performed his waning moon, Sun Xiaojin was blown away immediately. After staying in the cave for a day, Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing left at noon on the second day. Chapter 755. Above the boundless ocean, a huge bird-like flying puppet was flying at high speed. Boundless ocean is indeed worthy of its name. It's so desolate. After flying for 10 days and 10 nights, I haven't even seen a shadow of a human. There was a small wooden house on the puppet's back. This was the puppet house Yi Qin had obtained from the puppet school's branch ruins. The house wasn't too big and it was just right for it to fit on the puppet's back. Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing were lying in the house, chatting while drinking tea and eating fruits. Lightly taking a bite of the fire pear, Murong Qingqing said, be it humans or demonic beasts, most of them live in groups. Boundless ocean is so big so it's normal to not see people for a long time. Spitting out the core of the fire pear, Yi Qin smiled, fortunately, I have you to accompany me. Otherwise it would be quite boring. When traveling alone, apart from cultivating, there was nothing else one could do. In fact, many times cultivating was meaningless. As he spoke, Yi Qin's right hand, which was holding Murong Qingqing, slid into her clothes. Another 4 or 5 days passed in a flash. On this day, Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing finally saw a human. Brother, why don't you come over and have a chat? Yi Qin walked out of the puppet house and stood on the head of the puppet, raising his voice. From afar, the human flew over. This person's cultivation base was not weak either. Like Yi Qin, he was at late Sea of Soul realm. He was about 40 years old, and his eyes were filled with caution. He stopped a few li away, not daring to approach any closer. This one is Yi Qin. What is this brother's name? Yi Qin said with a faint smile. This one is Lu Hai. So it's brother Lu. Yi Qin cupped his fists. Lu Hai saw that Yi Qin didn't look like an evil person, so he hurriedly returned the greeting. Yi Qin glanced behind Lu Hai and asked, Brother Lu, I saw that you were panicking before, but there was nothing chasing you. It's quite strange. Lu Hai smiled bitterly. Brother, you should be here for the first time, right? Indeed. Yi Qin nodded. After a moment of silence, Lu Hai said, This is an ominous place. I advise you to leave quickly. An ominous place? Yi Qin revealed a puzzled expression. Brother Lu, why is this place ominous? I'm very curious. Have you heard of the legend of the Devouring Island? No. Yi Qin shook his head. Legend has it that there is a devouring island within 1,000,000 miles of this place. Those who have been devoured by that island have never been able to come out. I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but there are many treasures here. Many lucky people have obtained inestimable treasures here. To tell you the truth, I came here to try my luck, but just now I heard some strange sounds, so I hurriedly left. I've made a fool of myself in front of you, explained Lu Hai. The devouring island has many treasures. Interesting? Yi Qin touched his chin. Brother Yi, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first, Lu Hai said. All right, thanks a lot. Farewell. Cupping his fists, Lu Hai turned into a stream of light and quickly disappeared into the horizon. Entering the puppet house, Yi Qin said to Murong Qingqing, I wonder if it's true or not. Murong Qingqing said, perhaps it's similar to the fog forbidden zone. And it's better to stay away from this kind of place. No one was willing to enter this kind of dangerous place. Many years ago, Yi Chen also entered the fog-forbidden zone because he had no other choice. Normally he would never do this. As Lu Hai said, the treasures near the devouring island attracted many people. After flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, Yi Chen saw a verdant island. Other than a large number of trees, there were also many buildings. It looked very prosperous. Let's go take a look. Yi Chen controlled the flying puppet to approach. It is quite lively. In the sky above the island, Yi Chen was a bit surprised. The island was not a temporary place to live. Obviously, it had already developed into a special town. Inside the town, the lowest cultivation of the warriors was at the astral reaching realm. Sometimes, one could even see half-step king warriors with immeasurable chi. Yi Chen, let's go down. It had been half a month since they had eaten a hot meal, so Murong Qingqing suggested. All right. Putting away the flying puppet, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing landed. On the wide and busy street, there were a lot of people setting up stalls. Extreme rank water spirit stone for 3 million top rank spirit stones. Come quickly if you are interested. 10 semi-extreme rank fire cloud stones for 1,500,000 top rank spirit stones. If you are not interested, please do not disturb. The stall was not that eye-catching, but the slogan of the stall owner made Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing exchange a look. So strange. Murong Qingqing could not help but say. It is strange indeed. Are they not afraid of being targeted? In a place without rules like this, exposing one's wealth was not a smart move, unless one was very confident in his power. But no matter how Yi Chen looked at it, he did not think that these stall owners would be able to keep their wealth. The one with the highest cultivation was only at peak level late Sea of Souls realm. You two are new here, right? Right next to them, a middle-aged man said kindly. Indeed, we have just arrived at this island. Yi Chen replied. This island is called the Crystal Island. You two might not know about it yet, but it is not that there are no rules here. Instead, it is an island with very strict rules. It is the Blackwater Alliance that controls the island. Inside the alliance, there are more than 20 rank 5 powers and hundreds of rank 6 powers. If you want to cause trouble here, you will be chased by the powerful warriors of the Blackwater Alliance. The middle-aged man explained. I see. Yi Chen nodded, but he still had some doubts. He thought to himself, even if this place is very safe, there is no need to trade all kinds of treasures in the open. Seeming to have seen through Yi Chen's confusion, the middle-aged man continued. The reason these stall owners are rushing to sell their treasures for top-rank spirit stones is because the Blackwater Alliance has mastered the manufacturing method of Zhenyuan crystals. Plus, they are selling them to the public. As long as you have enough spirit stones, you can buy as many as you want. Zhenyuan crystals? Selling them to the public? Yi Chen was shocked. Making Zhenyuan crystals was hard even for half-step king warriors, and only Life and Death Realm warriors would be able to do it. But Life and Death Realm warriors would not be able to sell their Zhenyuan crystals. Firstly, they were not lacking in spirit stones, and secondly, there was a limit to their manpower. They could not just stop training, so making Zhenyuan crystals every day would not be necessary. Zhenyuan crystals were very useful. If used for training, it would be 10 times faster with half the effort. In this true spirit continent, Zhenyuan crystals were definitely priceless treasures. No martial institution would be willing to sell them. The deep ocean is indeed full of strange things. Yi Chen shook his head and forced a smile. Murong Qingqing said to the middle-aged man, You can really use spirit stones to buy Zhenyuan crystals? How many top-rank spirit stones for one? Because Zhenyuan crystals are too precious, there is no standard. On the Crystal Island, 10,000 top-rank spirit stones would be enough for one low-rank Zhenyuan crystal, and 1 million would be enough for one mid-rank Zhenyuan crystal. As for top-rank Zhenyuan crystals, the Blackwater Alliance does not have them. Zhenyuan crystals were also divided into different grades. Warriors who had just reached the Life and Death realm could only make low-rank Zhenyuan crystals at most. Only after 1,000 years of training would they be able to make mid-rank Zhenyuan crystals. I wonder where I can exchange for them. Yi Chen wanted to go and have a look. There is a tower over there. Do you see it? There are powerful warriors from the Blackwater Alliance managing it. Once you enter, there will be someone to receive you. The middle-aged man pointed at a tower at the end of the street. Thank you for telling me. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing said goodbye to the middle-aged man and walked toward the tower. There were no guards outside, so Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing walked in directly. You are here to exchange for Zhenyuan crystals? As soon as they entered, a bulky man came over to greet them. Indeed. Yi Chen looked around and found that there were only a few people on the first floor. However, there were a lot of unfathomable auras on the second floor and above. They should be powerful warriors from the Blackwater Alliance. You're new here, right? Register here first. The bulky man took out a hexagonal crystal that looked like jade and crystal but was not. The crystal emitted a circle of light and scanned Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing. Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing squinted their eyes. They had already sensed that their images had been stored in the crystal, and there was also the date of their arrival on the island. It would be very hard to fake. All right. Putting away the crystal, the bulky man said, "Since you have not been on the island for a year, you can only exchange for 10 low-rank Zhenyuan crystals per month." Didn't that guy just say that we could exchange without limit? Yi Chen said. He must not have said it clearly. This is the rule here. But if you are willing to take on the missions from our Blackwater Alliance, not only can you cancel the 1-year limit, you can even get 10% off for Zhenyuan crystals. Missions? What kind of missions? On the first of every month, there will be missions on the mission board in the center of the island. You can decide which mission to take on then. Since that is the case, let's exchange for 20 low-rank Zhenyuan crystals first. Yi Chen took out 20 boxes filled with top-rank soul stones and piled them up on the ground. The number is just right. The bulky man opened each box and nodded. He took out 20 crystals with a dreamy luster from his storage ring and handed them to Yi Chen. Leaving the tower, Yi Chen said, "I did not expect there to be an island like this in the deep ocean. There are so many strange things in this world. Yi Chen, should we stay here for a while?" Murong Qingqing played with the Zhenyuan crystals in her hand and asked. "We have nothing to do anyway. Let's just stay here for a couple of days," Yi Chen said. Finding a restaurant, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing checked in. Then Yi Chen started to train the Zhenyuan crystals. Zhenyuan crystals were solid Zhenyuan crystals. But it did not mean that one could just compress their own Zhenyuan into crystals. Instead, they would have to remove some of the elements from their Zhenyuan and turn it into crystals that everyone could train. For example, if one had the earth element Zhenyuan, the Zhenyuan crystals that were directly compressed would not be pure Zhenyuan crystals, but earth element Zhenyuan crystals. Not only would they have a low stability, but they could also be broken easily. Plus, they could only be trained by earth element warriors. Zhenyuan crystals were indeed Zhenyuan crystals. With only 5 of them, Yi Chen had increased his cultivation from late seas of Soul's Realm to peak level late seas of Soul's Realm. If it were top-rank soul stones, it would take at least a couple of months. Chapter 756. Advancing from late Sea of Soul Realm to peak Sea of Soul Realm doesn't require that many Zhenyuan crystals. I only used 5 out of 20. Since Murong Qingqing cultivated demonic power, Zhenyuan crystals were useless to her. Therefore, the 20 Zhenyuan crystals were all with Yi Chen. Putting away the remaining Zhenyuan crystals, Yi Chen thought for a bit and took out the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. Good steel had to be used on the blade's edge. In other words, it had to be used at the most crucial moment. Now that he had used the fruit, Yi Chen's spirit body would reach the 4th step, which would be a prerequisite for him to enter the half-step king realm. If he didn't use it, who knew when he would become a half-step king? Of course, it was indeed a bit of a waste to do so. After all, the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit could upgrade a 4th-step spirit body to the 5th step. Upgrading a 3rd step to the 4th step would be too much of a waste. However, time waited for no man. He would not wait for his spirit body to reach the 4th step before using the fruit. After eating so many days of fire pear, my spirit body's strength has increased a bit. It should be close to the peak of the 3rd step. I wonder to what extent would it reach after refining the fruit? Raising the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit in his hand, Yi Chen examined it carefully, then swallowed it in one bite and chewed on it. Hot. The first thing he felt after swallowing the fruit was heat. It wasn't a heat that came from the outside, but from his heart, as if his body was about to be ignited. So hot. Yi Chen hurried to take off all his clothes and sat on the bed with his legs crossed and naked. Unfortunately, taking off his clothes had no effect at all. Visible to the naked eye, a white mist rose from Yi Chen's tall and sturdy body, carrying a trace of red. The red color increased, eventually replacing the white and turning into a red chi flow. As the chi flow spread out, the bed made of precious wood turned into ashes without a sound. Worthy of being the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit. Yi Chen was afraid that the whole restaurant would be ignited, so he had to take out a tower shield from his storage ring and sit on top of it. With the tower shield, although the room was like a furnace, the red chi flow would not be too far away from Yi Qin. 15 minutes passed. 30 minutes. 1 hour. 2 hours. During these 2 hours, Yi Qin felt as if he was being roasted on a rack of lava. His muscles, blood, meridians, and bones, there wasn't a single part of him that wasn't being tested. Sometimes, his entire body was burning and the pain was unbearable. Other times, his bones were numb as if there were countless ants gnawing on them. Other times, his entire body was convulsing and he couldn't control himself. In the end, Yi Chen's eyes turned fiery red. It really fucking hurts. Yi Chen believed that he did not lack willpower, but at this moment he still had the urge to roar. The pain would eventually pass. When his body could no longer feel any pain, an extremely comfortable and refreshing stream of air naturally spread out. Due to the huge contrast, Yi Chen finally couldn't help but moan out loud, and all the pores on his body expanded at the same time. First refining, then nourishing. So that's how it is. Before, every inch of Yi Chen's flesh and bones was being refined, and some of the hard-to-remove impurities were burned clean. Then, the special property of the Sky Fiend Fire Spirit fruit slowly imprinted itself on Yi Chen's body, making Yi Chen's spirit body no longer just a normal body, but a higher-level existence, as if it was on the verge of evolution. If someone was here and had the ability to see through things, they would see that Yi Chen's flesh and blood were crystal clear like jade. His blood was like melted red crystals and his bones were like white metal. From inside to outside, it was like a brand new body. Rank 4 spirit body done. As the refreshing stream of air was used up, the fiery red light in Yi Chen's eyes gradually disappeared. Crack. Raising his head, Yi Chen tightened his fists. The powerful force made the space vibrate slightly, and all the furniture in the room fell down. Almost at the peak of rank 4, right? Just one more rank. Rank 4 spirit body was the body of a king warrior, and the body's toughness had reached an inhuman level. Without exaggeration, even if Yi Chen did not rely on his protective Zhen Yuan, an astral-reaching realm warrior would not be able to hurt him even a little bit. Even a Sea of Soul realm warrior would not be able to wound him badly. Only a Sea of Soul realm master warrior or a half-step king warrior would be able to kill him when he did not defend. Spirit body was spirit body, and it represented the toughness of the body. It did not have much to do with power, but it also had a little to do with power. Yi Chen could sense that his chi power had suddenly increased from 400,000 pounds to 450,000 pounds. It was an increase of 50,000 pounds and one should not underestimate it. The higher one's chi power went, the harder it would be to increase it. Rank 4 spirit body is done. There is no longer any obstacle on the path to half-step king warrior. Putting on clean clothes, Yi Chen walked out of the room. There were a lot of restaurants on the Crystal Island and they all had different styles. On the second floor of an ancient-looking restaurant, Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing sat by the window. No other restaurant in the whole True Spirit continent would have this many powerful warriors eating and drinking. Murong Qingqing glanced around and said emotionally. Yi Chen said, "Tomorrow is the first. There are obviously more people coming to the island. Yeah, I wonder what kind of missions there are." She knew better than anyone that Dongfang Hao was the kind of person who wouldn't stop until he reached his goal. Chapter 757. The night passed by quickly and it was already the next morning. There were thousands of people gathered in the center plaza of the Crystal Island. The first mission is very easy. I will take it. Me too. It seems to be almost the same. It doesn't matter which one I take. Everyone found that although the tasks on the task cards were different, the difficulty was very low. They really couldn't understand why the Blackwater Alliance issued such a simple task. Couldn't they complete it themselves? Was the Blackwater Alliance trying to attract people? Of course it was just a thought. For them, the easier the mission, the better. After finishing it, they would be able to exchange for endless Zhen Yuan crystals. There were a couple of rows of powerful warriors standing next to the board. One of the leaders stood out and sneered, "Don't think that these missions are easy. Indeed, the missions themselves are easy, but don't you forget what kind of place this is." After being reminded by the leader, everyone realized that there was a legend about the devouring island here. If one was devoured, there would be no way out. If they ran into the devouring island, then the mission would be even more dangerous. Damn. The devouring island is only a legend. If I ran into it, I can only blame my bad luck. If I were afraid, I would not have come in the first place. Yeah. Who is afraid of who? The warriors who came here were all powerful and brave. Not many of them would be afraid. Which mission should we take? Yi Chen looked at the board and asked Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing thought about it and said, let's take the second one. This mission is for us to find the ancient ruins on the map. Alright, let's take this one then. The reward is not low either. The missions on the board all had a reward, but of course it was very low. The reward for the second mission was divided into 3 levels. 1,000 top-rank soul stones for astral-reaching realm warriors, 20,000 for Seas of Souls realm warriors, and 100,000 for half-step king warriors. If it were in other places, it would be unbelievable. Normal master-level warriors would have at least 50,000. However, people were not here for the reward anyway. It would be great if there was one, but it would be fine if there was none. The fact that the Alliance was willing to give out the reward would actually make people feel good about it. However, the reward would only be given out after the mission was completed. If the mission was not completed, then the reward would be cancelled. You guys are also taking the second mission? What a coincidence. Not far away, Dongfang Hao smiled when he overheard their conversation. In fact, he had not decided which mission to choose. He was waiting for Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing to decide. Otherwise, he would not have the chance to come into contact with them. What a coincidence. Yi Chen smiled faintly. Do you want another one? Murong Qingqing frowned. There's no need. If we change, they will change as well. It's superfluous. I want to see what kind of tricks they are playing. Yi Chen was not a person who was afraid of trouble. Since trouble came to him, running away was not the best solution. We really are fated. It's a pity that the mission is about to start. Otherwise, I would definitely invite you for a drink, Dongfang Hao said. Haha, brother Hao rarely invites people to drink. Meng Xiaoling interrupted. At this time, the experts of the Blackwater Alliance near the task board separated and formed a line of 3 groups. The leader of the first group shouted, whoever takes the first task, come to me. Those who want to take the second mission, gather here with me. Do we need someone else to lead us? Dongfang Hao frowned. He had only arrived a couple of days earlier than Yi Chen. There were 10 missions in total, so there would be hundreds of people taking the same mission. There were about 200 people in Yi Chen's group, and among them, there were more than 100 astral-reaching realm warriors. Listen up, I am the leader of your group. You will have to listen to everything I say. If anyone does not listen and tries to mess things up, I will ask him to leave the group immediately. Within 1 year, he will be disqualified from taking any missions. We, the Blackwater Alliance, do not welcome him. The leader of the second group was a man with gray hair. His cultivation was very high and he was a half-step king warrior. The 2 beside him were also top master-level warriors. It was quite a powerful group. Perhaps only a huge alliance like the Blackwater Alliance would be able to send out this many half-step king warriors and top master-level warriors. Don't worry, I will do whatever you say. As long as you don't ask me to die, it will be fine. Right next to Yi Chen, the evil-looking man with a face full of stubble said with a loud voice. He was a half-step king warrior, and in this group only he and Dongfang Hao were half-step king warriors. Alright, I believe you will not do anything stupid. The man with gray hair nodded. Since that is the case, let's go. Time waits for no one. The man with gray hair did not say anything more as he jumped into the air with the other 2 top master-level warriors, flying into the distance. Let's go. Yi Chen and the rest followed. Over 500,000 miles away from the Crystal Island, over 200 people were standing in the sky. The gray-haired man said, the ancient ruins should be right under this ocean. Everyone don't fall behind. Dangers are everywhere in the deep ocean. As long as we do not run into the Sea Demon King, it will be fine. The evil-looking man licked his lips. Dongfang Hao crossed his arms in front of his chest and said confidently, Brother Yi, Lady Murong, we will form a group later. I will make sure you guys are safe. Murong Qingqing said, we will take care of ourselves. It is better to be safe than sorry. On the way, Dongfang Hao had been trying to find a chance to talk to Yi Chen. Actually, he was using Yi Chen as a bridge to talk to Murong Qingqing. Unfortunately, there had not been any results. Although Murong Qingqing looked noble and dignified, Dongfang Hao had run into a lot of trouble with her. Dongfang Hao could not wait for some huge danger to appear so that he could show off. Yi Chen looked on coldly. If it were not for Dongfang Hao's sense of propriety, he would not mind showing him how high the sky was and how deep the earth was. Let's go. The man with gray hair and the other 2 jumped into the ocean first. The next second, 200 people jumped in one after another. Soon there was not a single person left on the surface of the ocean. The reason why the deep ocean was called the deep ocean was not only because it was extremely dangerous, but also because there were all kinds of strange beasts lurking around. Most importantly, the depth of the deep ocean was much deeper than the shallow ocean. Here it was normal for the water to reach 100,000 meters, or even 200,000 meters. Normal astral reaching realm warriors would not even be able to reach that deep. Therefore, the astral reaching realm warriors who came to the Crystal Island were at least at late astral reaching realm. When they had reached 100,000 meters deep, a lot of light spots suddenly appeared from all directions, and they started to gather towards them. The man with gray hair squeezed his eyes as his voice spread out with the help of his Zhenyuan. Everyone be careful. It is a deep ocean electric eel. The deep ocean electric eel had a powerful thunder power inside its body. Once it reached a certain size, it would be very scary. It was very common in the deep ocean. Without any orders, everyone started to attack instinctively. Beams of sword chi, blade chi, and fist shadows attacked towards the group of electric eels. Crack, crackle. After being attacked, the electric eel became even more furious. The thunder power spread out from its body, turning the area within 10 miles into a thunder zone. After battling for a while, the electric eel still could not win against Yi Chen and the rest and was killed. Boom. All of a sudden, a massive electric eel waved its tail and charged over at an extremely fast speed. The thunder power on its body was blue with a hint of black, evaporating all the water around it and turning it into a vacuum. Electric Eel King. Everyone was shocked. This electric eel was the leader of the group, and it was obviously a half-step sea beast king. Not only was it huge in size, its beast power was also extremely powerful. Normal half-step king warriors would only be able to run if they ran into an electric eel king, since they would not be able to beat it at all. Among the half-step sea beast kings, the electric eel king could be counted as one of the tyrants. With its unique thunder power, no one would dare to underestimate it. The appearance of the electric eel king made everyone cautious. The man with gray hair did not say anything right then as he crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking at the evil-looking man and Dongfang Hao. Besides the man with gray hair, these two were the only half-step king warriors. Let me do it. Dongfang Hao glanced at Murong Qingqing before walking out of the group. Hee hee. The evil-looking man was happy that someone else had taken care of it for him, so he let out an ugly laugh. Swoosh. The electric eel king sensed the powerful qi coming from Dongfang Hao's body. Its eyes, which were very small compared to its body, shrunk with a vicious light. If it were the white bone shark king, I might be a bit worried. But it is only an electric eel king and it dares to block our way. Dongfang Hao waved his hand and a 4 to 5 feet long iron stick appeared in his hand. It was only a semi-extreme rank weapon, but it looked extremely heavy as if it was made of a mountain. Swoosh, 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 boom, pow. The electric eel king was enraged by Dongfang Hao. A sky full of thunder power poured out of its body, attacking toward Dongfang Hao who was not far away. Facing this kind of scene, a lot of people's faces turned pale. They thought that under this endless thunder power, they would not even be able to last one breath. Die. Facing the sky full of thunder, Dongfang Hao's body flashed, flying toward the Eel King's back. Along the way, the incoming thunder power was shattered by the iron stick in his hand before it could even get close to his body. Dongfang Hao's speed was extremely fast, but it also seemed to be fake at the same time. The electric Eel King could not lock onto him at all, so it could only roll its body to increase the range of the thunder attack. In the boiling ocean water, a purple light flashed and Dongfang Hao appeared out of nowhere. Earth-shattering art. Holding the iron stick, Dongfang Hao smashed it onto the Eel King's head. The yellow light expanded, covering the electric Eel King. The next moment, the electric Eel King's body was torn to pieces. There was no blood coming out of the wounds. It was completely petrified. It was like a broken statue of the electric Eel King. Interesting. Very powerful. The evil-looking man was a bit surprised. Among this group of people, he should be the most powerful one. The man with gray hair thought to himself. Meng Xiaoling smiled at Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing. This kind of Eel King? Brother Hao has killed a couple of them already. Even that extremely cruel white-bone shark king might not be his opponent. With him here we will be very safe. There is no need to worry about anything else. His power is indeed not bad. Yi Chen nodded slightly. Swoosh. Meng Xiaoling almost laughed out loud. She was only at peak level late Sea of Soul's realm, and she was judging her boyfriend's power as only not bad. Dong Fanghao thought that his temperament was way better than normal people, but Yi Chen's attitude had pissed him off a lot. It was obvious that the latter did not take him seriously at all. If it were not for Murong Qingqing, he would have lost it already. A mere peak-level late Sea of Souls realm warrior dared to talk to him like this. You really overestimate yourself. Meng Xiaoling also couldn't stand Yi Chen's attitude and whispered. It seems like we don't have anything in common to talk about. There's no need for us to get together. Murong Qingqing frowned and pulled away from the two of them. Right then Yi Chen also said, You too, if there is nothing important in the future, you better not disturb us. I'm not someone with a good temper. As he spoke, he leaned toward Murong Qingqing. Dong Fanghao's expression was very bad as it could get. His eyes were extremely dark. I'm so pissed. These two guys really don't know what's good for them. Meng Xiaoling gritted her teeth. They will regret it one day. Dong Fanghao said with a low voice. Everyone's diving speed was very fast. Soon they had reached a depth of 180,000 meters. The water pressure here was unimaginable. It could definitely squeeze a huge piece of steel into a steel ball. Normal astral-reaching realm warriors would be reduced to a meatball. We should be reaching the ruins soon. Everyone be careful. The man with gray hair said from the front. Something is coming. It is the deep-sea piranhas. From far away, Yi Chen could already sense that there were huge amounts of deep-ocean piranhas approaching. The piranhas here were very small, only the length of a middle finger. But, for these kinds of vicious creatures that lived in groups, the smaller they were, the more destructive they would be. When tens of thousands of piranhas rushed over, it would definitely be a catastrophic disaster. Soon the others had also sensed the arrival of the deep-sea piranhas. They were all breathing heavily, looking very nervous. Without me, how are you going to block them out? Dong Fanghao had seen how horrifying the deep-sea piranhas were. This kind of piranhas did not have high individual battling power, and a clasping Yuan realm warrior would be able to handle them. But they had two special features. One was their extremely hard body and the other was their extremely sharp teeth. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors would not be able to kill them with one attack. Their teeth were sharp enough to pierce through Sea of Souls realm warriors' protective Zhen Yuan layer. Once the deep-sea piranhas gathered into a large group, it would be quite a threat to even half-step king warriors. This is so troublesome. The man with gray hair reached his soul power into his storage ring, looking for something. The deep-sea piranhas were extremely fast, and within a couple of blinks of an eye, they had already arrived. Meanwhile, the man with gray hair threw out a green pellet, and beams of green chi spread out. Unfortunately, it did not spread out that fast, far slower than the attacking speed of the piranhas. All of a sudden, the number of astral-reaching realm warriors that had died had reached 2 digits. Facing the extremely cruel creatures like the deep-sea piranhas, the protective Zhen Yuan layer of the astral-reaching realm warriors would be as fragile as tofu. Yi Chen's side was also being attacked by a huge amount of piranhas. Boom, boom, boom. Murong Qingqing's protective demon power was even more powerful than a half-step king warrior's protective Zhen Yuan layer. The piranhas would not be able to break through it within a short period of time, and were bounced back one after another. Seeing this, Dong Fanghao was a bit surprised. He had planned to go up and help out, letting them know who would be able to save her. But it did not really matter. If Murong Qingqing could survive, Yi Chen might not be able to. Even if he could survive, he would be embarrassed and become a laughing stock. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the speed of Yi Chen's sword. Any of the deep-sea piranhas that got close to Yi Chen were cut in half. All of a sudden, there were at least hundreds of deep-sea piranhas that got close. But, in the next second, hundreds of them had been cut in half. It was almost impossible to see how Yi Chen had attacked. Him? Such a fast sword speed. Dong Fanghao had to admit that he had underestimated Yi Chen. Brother Hao, he does not seem to be easy to mess with. Meng Xiaoling was even more shocked than Dong Fanghao. She had not seen anyone's sword speed that was as fast as Yi Chen's. It was not hard to imagine how shocked she was. Taking a deep breath, Dong Fanghao said, Fast sword speed is nothing. I am a half-step king warrior and he is only at peak level late Seas of Souls realm. He would not be my opponent. No matter how fast his sword speed is, would he be able to break through my defense? I would only need one attack to tear him into pieces. The green aura emitted by the green pill finally pervaded the air. When the deep-sea piranhas smelled this aura, they immediately rushed over like moths to a flame. The deep-sea piranhas in the lead were the fastest and swallowed the green pill in one gulp. Something horrifying happened. The other piranhas saw the leading piranha swallow the pellet, and their eyes turned red. They dismembered the other piranhas and started to fight for the bodies. After swallowing the bodies, even more piranhas could not stand it anymore and started to eat their own kind. Just like that, the number of piranhas started to decrease. Eventually there was only one piranha left with a big belly. It swam back and forth before it disappeared completely. What kind of pellet is this? It is so scary. Everyone looked at each other. The man with gray hair said with satisfaction, "This is the piranha killer that our Blackwater Alliance has developed. Don't think that it is just a small pellet. The materials used to make it would be millions of top-rank spirit stones. It could kill millions of piranhas. Right now, we have to use it because we have no other choice." The materials used to make the piranha killer pellet were extremely rare, and each of them would be priceless. Then, a master alchemist would extract the essence of the pellet, and it would take 81 days to make. Moreover, the failure rate was very high as 50%. "I wonder if your alliance would sell this kind of piranha killer pellet?" Someone asked. "As long as you can afford the top-rank spirit stones, we can negotiate." "I really can't afford it." One piranha killer fish was worth millions of top-rank spirit stones. Only a few Sea of Souls realm warriors would be able to afford it. Even a half-step king warrior would only have that much wealth, and it would be impossible for them to buy one. Although there were piranha fish killers, everyone had still suffered heavy casualties. Roughly estimating at least 40 to 50 astral-reaching realm warriors had been killed, and more than 10 Sea of Souls realm warriors had been killed. Losing a quarter of their force all of a sudden had made the gray-haired man look very bad. "Yichin, don't you think it is strange? This Blackwater Alliance warrior seems to care a lot about the casualties. Normally there is no need for him to care." Murong Qingqing could tell that something was not right. It is a bit strange indeed, and it is not just this. For example, the missions that the Blackwater Alliance has given out, and the Zhenyuan Crystal Exchange, there are a lot of them. Yi Qin had already sensed that something was not right about the Crystal Island, but there was no point in just guessing. It seems like we can only take it one step at a time. Murong Qingqing nodded. "Don't worry. As long as we do not run into life and death realm warriors, no matter how many enemies we run into, we will still be able to escape." This was also the reason why Yi Qin did not say anything. "We are here." After diving down for a few thousand meters, the man with gray hair let out a breath and said happily. In front of everyone was a massive entrance at the bottom of the ocean. It was surrounded by seaweed, and one would not be able to see it without looking carefully. "Let's go in." The man with gray hair led the way and jumped in. "Let's go." Some of the people frowned a little before following him in. The evil-looking man seemed to have sensed something wrong as well, so he slowed down on purpose and ran behind the group. "Be careful." Yi Qin held Murong Qingqing's hand as the two disappeared into the pitch-black entrance at the bottom of the ocean. The entrance was very deep, as if it was a huge crack at the bottom of the ocean. No one knew where it led to. If it were not for the fact that there were a lot of people, normal people would not dare to come in, and would have left a long time ago. After about 10 minutes, everyone's eyes brightened. They had finally passed through the entrance and arrived at the inside of the ocean. "You're saying that someone brought us here on purpose?" The man came to a realization. "We'll have to ask him." Yi Qin pointed at the gray-haired man. "Insolence. You're courting death." The two men beside the gray-haired man rebuked Yi Qin. Yi Qin sneered. "Since you've brought us here, you've succeeded. Why don't you take off your mask?" "Ha." The gray-haired man guffawed, his laughter filled with pride and admiration. "I didn't expect you to be so meticulous. How did you figure it out?" The gray-haired man asked. "I only suspected at first, but as soon as we entered the relic, I began to suspect you." "Oh, why didn't you run then?" "Everyone is curious. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. Plus, I thought running would have been useless. You guys must have had a backup plan." "You're right. The moment you stepped into the relic, you couldn't get out. Bringing you here was the second step. I have to admire you. You were the only one who noticed the anomaly among so many people. The others kept it to themselves. Even if they had suspicions, they wouldn't have targeted me. So, strength isn't everything. Your ability to survive is stronger than everyone else's." The gray-haired man admired Yi Qin. Of course, he didn't know Yi Qin's strength yet, thinking that Yi Qin was merely meticulous. "No need to admire me. In fact, I should admire your Blackwater Alliance. With such a grand plan, it's obvious that you want to capture everyone in one fell swoop. If I'm not wrong, your plan has something to do with devouring Island. Am I right? Yi Chen smiled. Not only the gray-haired man, even the two people next to him sucked in a breath of cold air. With just a few clues, Yi Chen was able to figure out their plan. This could not be described as meticulous, it was simply frightening. Is what he said true? The ferocious-looking man's face was filled with killing intent. Ridiculous. You're still asking me now. The gray-haired man sneered. You're courting death. I'll tear you apart. The ferocious-looking man wasn't a good person. He had always been the one making fun of others. Since when did he become the one being made fun of? This made him feel very wronged. Boom. His right hand formed a blade and a light black saw appeared on the edge of his palm. The ferocious-looking man slashed at the gray-haired man and the two top master-level masters. Boom. That attack was blocked out by a layer of blue membrane. The ground under the gray-haired man and the other two moved automatically, bringing them into the wall. The gap in the wall was a blue membrane. It seemed like even 10 half-step king warriors wouldn't be able to break it open. The gray-haired man and the other two could see Yi Chen and the rest through the blue membrane, and Yi Chen and the rest could see them as well. You think that I'll give you the chance to attack me? The gray-haired man said with a mocking expression. Fuck your ancestors. The fierce-looking man repeatedly attacked the blue membrane, causing it to ripple like water. Unfortunately, the defensive power of the blue membrane was far beyond imagination. No matter how much strength the fierce-looking man exerted, he couldn't shake it in the slightest. It was all in vain. Everyone, let's go. After everyone knew that the gray-haired man and the Blackwater Alliance were the masterminds, they were all furious. All of them wanted to eat the three alive. Boom, 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 boom. The tide-like energy flooded the thin blue membrane like a vast ocean. Dongfang Hao and Meng Xiaoling had also joined in the attack. Only Yi Chen and Murong Qingqing stood aside and did not do anything, watching coldly. After a long while, the qi disappeared and the blue membrane was not damaged at all. It's useless. Since you're here, don't waste your time. Yi Chen said calmly. Since you already knew, why didn't you tell us? I too the third will teach you how to behave. I will also keep your girlfriend safe for you. The ferocious-looking man Tu Lao San had a belly full of anger. Since he could not do anything to the gray-haired man, he shifted his attention to Yi Chen. Right then and there, he was ready to kill Yi Chen and have some fun before the disaster came. As he spoke, an evil smile appeared on his face as if Murong Qingqing was already his, and there would be no accidents. Seeking death. A murderous look flashed across Dongfang Hao's eyes, but he quickly hid it. He was happy that Tu the third would kill Yi Chen. After Yi Chen was killed, he would be able to openly save Murong Qingqing, killing two birds with one stone. Seems like you want to die. Yi Chen's expression turned cold. The murderous look on his face was a few times more intense than Tu the third's. Many people around him hurriedly took a few steps back, shocked by Yi Chen's murderous look. Chapter 760. This young man, his killing intent is so thick. Why is it so much thicker than a half-step king warrior? Yeah, it is indeed confusing. What is the use of thick killing intent? It is still power that matters. I do not think he will win. I am afraid that he will be killed within 1 or 2 attacks. Too bad for a beauty. Although everyone was shocked by Yi Chen's killing intent, they did not think that Yi Chen would be able to escape from Tu Laosan's attack. The gap between the two was just too huge. Do I want to die? Tu Laosan sneered. All right, I will not kill you right away. I will let you taste the feeling of being dead. Are you done? Now you can die slowly, very slowly. Yi Chen suddenly took out his Thunder Disaster Sword and threw out a sword attack. Blood spilled everywhere as Tu Laosan's entire right arm was chopped off. Because it was so sudden, the blood shot out 8 meters away like a fountain. What? Everyone was shocked. This result was completely different from what they had expected. Tu Laosan was a half-step king warrior after all, but his arm had been chopped off by Yi Chen. Impossible. Tu Laosan roared, his face pale. It was hard to tell if it was because of the pain, shock, or both. Nothing is impossible. Yi Chen threw out another sword attack. It was so fast that Tu Laosan did not even have the time to react before his left arm was chopped off. Spare my life. I promise I will never mess with you again. Tu Laosan was scared. Although everyone had fallen into the trap set by the Blackwater Alliance, at least there was still a chance of survival. You are too stupid. Yi Chen did not show any mercy as he lifted up his thunder disaster sword. I will fuck your whole family. Everyone, let's kill him together. Tu Laosan's eyes were filled with despair as he yelled crazily. Unfortunately, not many people listened to him. Fighting against Yi Chen right now would just be suicide. Shaking his head, Yi Chen held the thunder disaster sword and threw out a thunder devour. Tu Laosan, who had lost both his arms, was unable to fight back and was directly swallowed by the black thunder ball. The thunder ball twisted and expanded, producing a series of intense explosions. At the center of the explosions, Tu Laosan's 7 orifices were discharging electricity. His skin was charred, cracked, and carbonized at a visible speed. Bang! Tu Laosan fell to the ground and his body was smashed into pieces like charcoal. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would believe that this was a human corpse. Dongfang Hao looked at Tu Laosan, who had been smashed into pieces, then looked at Yi Chen. His face looked very bad. All the way here, he had thought that Yi Chen was just a peak-level late Seas of Souls realm warrior. Even if he could fight beyond his realm, he would only be a normal half-step king warrior, which would be a huge gap between them. However, he had not expected that Yi Chen's battling power would be a couple of times more powerful than he had imagined. Even someone as powerful as Tu Laosan could not last 3 sword attacks, although it was partly due to his carelessness. So he's actually this powerful. Meng Xiaoling murmured unconsciously. Inside the blue film on the wall, the man with gray hair said, I did not expect that you would be the most powerful warrior in this team. What is the use of being powerful? I was still tricked by your Blackwater alliance. Yi Chen put his sword back into its scabbard and said lightly. The man with gray hair laughed. You don't seem to be nervous at all. If being nervous is useful right now, I would not mind being nervous for a bit. As he spoke, Yi Chen looked around. Eventually, his eyes landed on the hexagram under his feet. It had flashed for a second, and if one did not look carefully, they would not have noticed it at all. The man with gray hair saw that Yi Chen had noticed it, so he said, It is useless. In a while, you will all be devoured by the devouring island, and this place is one of the connecting points. Indeed. After the man with gray hair said that, everyone realized that the Blackwater Alliance was indeed connected to the devouring island. As for what the connection was, they did not know, and they did not want to know at the moment. Right then, a lot of people started to despair. They wished that they could go back in time and never go to the Crystal Island again. Oh. The hexagram emitted a powerful energy ripple. This energy ripple was even more vast than the Zhenyuan released by dozens of half-step kings. As the hexagram was completely activated, the stone door in front of everyone opened with a loud rumble. Inside was an energy whirlpool that crazily revolved, devouring everything in the stone room. Oh. Without any time to react, at least half of the people were sucked in by the energy whirlpool. It was like a black hole and no one knew what was on the other side. The sucking power of the energy whirlpool was way too powerful. Even though Yi Chen and the rest tried their best, they would only be sucked in a little bit later. Waiting until the whirlpool disappeared, the stone door closed. The blue layer on the wall disappeared on its own, and the man with gray hair and the other 2 walked out. Another batch. It is so easy. The top master-level warrior on the left of the man with gray hair laughed. You think it is easy? We, the Blackwater Alliance, are under a lot of pressure. Some of the life and death realm warriors are getting more and more greedy. If we do not give them enough Zhenyuan crystals, these things will be exposed. By then we will be in trouble as well. The man with gray hair said. No matter how big their appetite is, they should have a bottom line, right? After all, our Blackwater Alliance has a lot of life and death realm warriors as well. Thinking that the Holy Spirit was not that scary, a Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior said, We can make Zhenyuan crystals. Why should we give them to you? This is the rule of the devouring island. The Holy Spirit answered, Bullshit rule. Let me ask you, how do we get out? The Holy Spirit said, Getting out is very easy. Astral Reaching Realm Warriors, hand over 10,000 Zhenyuan crystals. Sea of Souls Realm Warriors, 50,000, and Half-Step King Warriors, 100,000. Astral Reaching Realm Warriors, hand over 10,000 Zhenyuan crystals. May I ask, how many Zhenyuan crystals can an Astral Reaching Realm Warrior make in a month? 15. 15? Are you messing with us? It has been 60 to 70 years since we handed over 10,000. This is the rule here, bullshit rule. Let me ask you, how do we get out? A lot of people had a vicious look on their faces. Hand over all the Zhenyuan crystals and you will be able to get out. The Holy Spirit's tone did not change at all. Go die. 3 of them attacked the Holy Spirit together. Oh, oh, oh. The Holy Spirit flapped its wings, and the 3 of them puked out blood. On the Devouring Island, even life and death realm warriors would not be my opponent. Do not waste your energy. Also, you have to remember, if you are lazy and do not hand over all the Zhenyuan crystals after 1 month, you will be punished by me. Besides that, you are not allowed to kill anyone here. The mission of the killer will fall on you. In other words, you can get out after handing over 10,000 Zhenyuan crystals, but if you kill someone with the same cultivation as you will have to hand over 20,000. Hearing the Holy Spirit, Yi Qin frowned. Something is wrong. Yi Qin, what is wrong? Murong Qingqing asked. Yi Qin said, since we can get out after handing over the Zhenyuan crystals, then the thing about the Devouring Island would be exposed for sure. But, judging from the situation outside, the Devouring Island is still a legend. You mean once we get in we can't get out? Very likely. That Holy Spirit is lying to us. I don't know about that. We will see. The Devouring Island was too strange, and even Yi Qin had no clue about it. Only by observing for a while would he be able to figure it out. Knowing that the Holy Spirit was unbeatable, everyone had a bitter look on their faces. According to the Holy Spirit, the Devouring Island was like a prison where they had to work. If they did not work, then they would be punished. Plus, with so many Zhenyuan crystals, how long would it take to hand them over? Chapter 761. You all appeared from this direction. From now on, you will be working on the number 3 Devouring Island. The Holy Spirit pointed at the island before disappearing. Should we go? A lot of people were hesitating. What else can we do? Do you have a way to leave? Let's go. Let's see how it goes first. Just like that, everyone arrived at the number 3 Devouring Island. The number 3 Devouring Island was not that big, and could only be considered as a small island. There were more people on the island than he had expected, numbering in the tens of thousands. A small portion of them were training in the valley in the center of the island, while the rest were either making Zhenyuan crystals in their own caves, or chatting and practicing martial arts outside. Another group of unlucky people. I guess they were also tricked by the Blackwater Alliance. So many people. They must have been tricked. The people who were chatting on the island looked at Yi Qin and the rest, their tone carrying a hint of gloating and numbness. The Blackwater Alliance had indeed tricked a lot of people. Murong Qingqing saw that there were tens of thousands of people on the island, and she was a bit surprised. It should be known that there were 6 islands on the Devouring Island, and there would be more than 100,000 people on the 6 islands. Among them, the lowest cultivation would be at the astral reaching realm, while the highest would be at the half-step king warrior level. If they could be controlled, it would definitely be a horrifying power. After a long time, it is not strange for there to be this many people. Yi Qin rolled his eyes and said, it seems like some of them have been on the island for years. Although they are not dead yet, they are no different from the walking dead. Hearing him, Murong Qingqing looked over the people on the island and realized that there would always be a couple of people who had a blank expression on their faces. It seemed like they did not care about anything and their eyes were always losing focus. Will we end up like this? A bit of anxiety appeared on Murong Qingqing's face. Oh. Letting out a breath, Yi Qin sneered, if you want to lock me up, you will have to see if this place can hold me. The Holy Spirit said that even life and death realm warriors would not be able to do anything to him. But there were no life and death realm warriors on the island. Therefore, even if life and death realm warriors could not do anything to the Holy Spirit, they would not be afraid of him. Therefore, as long as one could become a life and death realm warrior, there would be a chance to get out. Of course, that would be in the future. Hey, you newcomers might not know about the little rules of the island yet. I'm a nice guy, so I will tell you about them. A tall and sturdy-looking man walked out. First, on the Devouring Island, everyone has their own cave. As for Murong Qingqing, she had made 15 demon power crystals, which was a lot more powerful than Yi Qin, since the demon power was more powerful than Zhenyuan in the first place. I wonder if the demon power crystals would be useful? Murong Qingqing said. Yi Qin said, on the Devouring Island there are not only humans but also beasts. The beasts can make the demon power crystals. Since the demon power crystals are useful, then the demon power crystals should be useful as well. I hope so. Murong Qingqing nodded. Let's go. There is a holy place for training in the middle of the island. Let's go check it out. Making 11 Zhenyuan crystals in 4 days meant that they could make at least 80 in a month. Sea of Souls realm warriors would only need to hand over 50 Zhenyuan crystals, which would be more than enough. Yeah. Murong Qingqing and Yi Qin walked out of the cave together. The island was not that big. Once the two walked out of the cave, they could see the people on the island. I have only made 16 Zhenyuan crystals this month. 10 of them need to be handed over, and 3 of them need to be handed over to the manager of the Blackwater Alliance. There are only 3 left and you want to take 2 of them at once? I have worked hard this month for nothing. Not far away, an astral-reaching realm warrior yelled. I don't care how many Zhenyuan crystals you have made this month. If I ask you to hand them over, then hand them over. Otherwise, I will take away all the Zhenyuan crystals you have and let you be punished by the Holy Spirit. I believe a lot of people know how painful it is. Do you want to try it? It was a middle-aged man with extremely long hair. Behind him, there were dozens of Sea of Souls realm warriors, looking very aggressive. Don't push it too far. The astral-reaching realm warrior's tone softened. I am bullying you. Hurry up. I do not have time to waste with you. The man said impatiently. Eventually, he still handed over the 2 Zhenyuan crystals and left angrily. When will it end? Not far away from Yi Qin, an elder shook his head. Yi Qin turned his head to look. Senior, what is going on? What else could it be? It is just the dark power here. The elder's cultivation was not weak, being at late Sea of Souls realm. Dark power? Besides the Blackwater Alliance, there are other dark power parties here? Murong Qingqing did not understand. The elder explained, the Blackwater Alliance is the biggest manager on the Devouring Island besides the Holy Spirit. All 6 islands are under their control, and there are a lot of dark power parties on each island. Our number 3 Devouring Island is divided into 30 regions, and each region is ruled by a group of dark power parties. This region of ours is called the Black Mountain region, and the leader of the dark power party there is a half-step king warrior called the Tough King. His rule is that as long as one lives in the Black Mountain region and has an astral-reaching realm cultivation, they have to hand over 2 Zhenyuan crystals every month. Sea of Souls realm warriors, 10 crystals, and half-step king warriors are exempted. Does the Blackwater Alliance not care about it? Murong Qingqing continued to ask. The elder made a face. Jackals of the same tribe. Actually, the dark power parties on the Devouring Island are all accepted by the Blackwater Alliance for better management. Otherwise, if there is a rebellion, it would be a headache for the Blackwater Alliance as well. I see. Yi Qin nodded slightly. You are new here as well, right? The elder saw that Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing were not familiar with them. Yes. Right now is the beginning of the month, so no one will come to collect your Zhenyuan crystals. But after this month ends, you will have to face this. Remember, do not fight against the Tough King and his power, and definitely do not fight against the power of the Blackwater Alliance. Otherwise you will only suffer. Thank you, Senior, for the reminder. Yi Qin held his fists together as he walked toward the center of the island with Murong Qingqing. On the way, Murong Qingqing said, This Devouring Island is more chaotic than I thought. The island is divided into 30 regions, and each region has at least 700 to 800 people. 90% of them are astral-reaching realm warriors, and they would be able to collect 1,000 Zhenyuan crystals every month. Sea of Souls realm warriors would be around 10%, and they would be able to collect 1,000 Zhenyuan crystals every month. So, it would be more than 2,000 in total. It would be quite a fortune. Yi Qin shook his head. It is not that simple. The Blackwater Alliance would not let the Tough King get all the benefits alone. It would most likely be the Blackwater Alliance and the Tough King's power. The training place was in the valley in the center of the island. When Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing arrived, the valley was already full, and there were a lot of people lining up outside. So many people. Murong Qingqing saw that there were more than 100 people in the line. Let's go back first. Yi Qin did not really care about the training place. He was only one step away from the half-step king warrior realm, and so was Murong Qingqing. Training alone would not do them much good. When Yi Qin and the rest arrived at the island, it was the beginning of the month. The Zhenyuan crystals that they had made were all stored in their storage rings, and it was not time to hand them in yet. Within a blink of an eye, 20 days had passed, and the end of the month was getting closer and closer. During this period of time, Yi Qin had made 55 Zhenyuan crystals, and Murong Qingqing had made 75. It had already exceeded the requirement by quite a bit. Chapter 762. Who do you think you are? Do you think the tough king is someone you can see whenever you want? The warriors of the tough king surrounded them, led by that creepy long-haired middle-aged man. Asking you to go see the tough king is for your own good. After so many days, Yi Qin had pretty much figured out the situation in the Black Mountain area. This tough king might not be the most powerful warrior on the number 3 devouring island, but he was indeed the most brutal one. Otherwise he would not have collected so many Zhenyuan crystals. Brat, you are looking for death. Seeing Yi Qin being this arrogant, the warriors of the tough king who were used to being aggressive could not handle it anymore. 4 late Sea of Souls realm warriors jumped out, attacking toward Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing together. Yi Qin did not even need to take out his sword. He just threw out a sword finger attack. Even if it was only one sword finger attack, it was still not something the 4 could handle. They were all blown away like broken bags. Impressive. Kill these bastards who eat people without spitting out their bones. Within this short period of time, a lot of people had already surrounded them. Seeing that Yi Qin was only at peak level late Sea of Souls realm, but could beat 4 warriors of the tough king with one attack, they could not be happier. Brat, no wonder you are so arrogant. You do have some tricks up your sleeves. The creepy middle-aged man squinted his eyes, a cold light flashing in his eyes. He waved his hand, signaling all of his warriors to attack. Kill. Die. To be able to be the warriors of the tough king, they had to be at least mid-Sea of Souls realm. Dozens of warriors with mid-Sea of Souls realm and above jumped toward Yi Qin, their killing intent intense. Unfortunately, Yi Qin's power was way below his, and he was the kind of warrior who could fight beyond his realm. Therefore, the result was already decided from the very beginning. Seeing his warriors being blown away while puking out blood, the middle-aged man finally lost his cool. His body flashed once as he threw out a claw attack toward Yi Qin's head. That sharp claw power seemed like it was going to scratch through Yi Qin's head and body. That kind of power was not something normal people could compete with. The cold-looking middle-aged man's attack was fast, but Yi Qin's attack was even faster. His arm moved, and his sword finger pressed against the cold-looking middle-aged man's neck. The cyan finger light flickered, and as long as the cold-looking middle-aged man moved a little closer, the finger light would immediately pierce through his throat. You didn't die because the rules here don't allow it, and also because I want you to bring a message. Yi Qin sneered. Cold sweat appeared on the middle-aged man's forehead. Yi Qin's attacking speed was way too fast, and he did not even see how Yi Qin attacked. It was not until he felt a slight chill on his throat that he realized that Yi Qin had already attacked. If it were not for him stopping his body in time, he would have been killed on the spot. Of course, even if the cold-looking middle-aged man wanted to die, Yi Qin wouldn't let him die by his hands. He wasn't that stupid. Withdrawing his sword fingers, Yi Qin said, "Let the tough king talk to me. You'll regret this." The eerie middle-aged man took a deep breath and said slowly as he hurriedly retreated a dozen steps. That would depend on whether the tough king is capable enough. Yi Qin's tone was indifferent. Let's go. The middle-aged man brought his wounded warriors and left. The cave that the tough king was staying in was huge. There were no other caves within 300 meters of it. Inside the living room, the tough king looked at the middle-aged man with a dark expression. You mean not only is he not going to hand over the Zhenyuan crystals, he wants to see me? Yes. Besides that, he has also wounded our people. The middle-aged man lowered his head. An evil light flashed in the tough king's eyes. It seems like my title is not cruel enough after all. Even the people in the Black Mountain area don't like me. Bring me over. I will let him know what regret feels like. The Black Mountain area was not that big. Within half a pot of tea's time, the tough king had brought a group of people over. That evil chi had scared a lot of people out of their wits. The tough king is here. I wonder how he is going to handle this. This is so unwise. Our number 3 devouring island only has 20 half-step king warriors. Even if the tough king is not in the top 3, he would at least be in the top 5. Some of the leaders of the dark power groups are only at peak level late Seas of Souls realm. Perhaps he is one of the martial geniuses from some big power group. He is used to being on top. Everyone started to discuss. Who are you? Tell me your name. Floating in the air, the tough king looked down at Yi Qin and said with a low voice. Yi Qin, you must be the tough king, right? Yi Qin lifted up his head and said lightly. Since you know, why don't you kneel down and beg for mercy? Yi Qin sneered. You do not deserve it. You are looking for death. The warriors that the tough king had brought were furious. Alright, you have guts. But the more guts you have, the more miserable I will make you. Kuei Feng, test him out for me. An evil look flashed through his eyes as the tough king said to the middle-aged man on his left. Yes. The middle-aged man's body flashed. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, 4 turned into 8. All of a sudden he turned into 8 phantoms that looked both real and fake at the same time, surrounding Yi Qin. Wind profound. No, there is also a hint of shadow profound. Yi Qin was a bit surprised. However, he did not expect that Kuei Feng would be defeated in one attack. Of course, this did not mean that Yi Chen's power was much more powerful than Kuei Feng's. It could only mean that Yi Chen's fighting skills were way better than Kuei Feng's. However, when the power gap was too big, no matter how good one's skills were, it would be useless. With good skills, could he break through the defense? With good skills, could he dodge the ultimate attack? Neither. Only when the power gap was not that big would it be useful. Impressive. But your good luck ends here. The tough king jumped into the air and threw out a punch at Yi Qin. That punch was thrown out like a shooting star, but it was also like lava. It made people feel like they were facing a disaster. This tough king's power is almost the same as Qing Lu Sr. Yi Qin could tell with one glance that the martial art that the tough king had performed contained the fire and earth profound. Of course, the combination of the fire and earth profound would have different effects for different people. Boom. Yi Qin still did not take out his sword. He pointed out with his sword finger and a thunderball was formed. It attacked towards the tough king, exploding with an extremely hot and violent chi flow. Hit him? He blocked it. The tough king did not believe it. His fists were like a shooting star shower as they attacked towards Yi Qin. Each punch was fiercer than the previous one. He did not believe that Yi Qin would be able to handle it. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of chi clashing continued. The mud on the island had been scraped open, but Yi Qin did not back out even half a step. It is my turn now. Qin. Yi Qin took out his Thunder Disaster Sword. The sword light flashed once before stabbing out. Too fast. I cannot dodge it. The tough king was shocked. He realized that no matter how hard he tried to dodge, he could not avoid that sword attack. It was indeed unbelievably fast. It was indeed Yi Chen's spiritual sword attack. Once it was performed, even top half-step king warriors would not be able to dodge it. Even if I cannot dodge it, so what? Break through my protective Zhenyuan first. The tough king screamed in his mind. The spiritual sword attack was not only fast, but its attacking power was also horrifying. It had only paused for a second before it pierced through the tough king's protective Zhenyuan and landed heavily on his chest. Puking out a mouthful of blood, the semi-extreme rank great armor on the tough king's chest was slightly twisted. He then puked out a mouthful of blood as he was blown backward with a pale face. Even the tough king has lost. Who is this guy? People in the Black Mountain area had seen way too many confident people, but all of them had been beaten by the tough king without exception. The appearance of Yi Qin was like the sun after the rain, tearing apart the clouds and shining down. This Black Mountain area is going to change soon. A lot of people thought to themselves. Take out all of their storage rings. Yi Qin was not a good person and he wanted to leave the Devouring Island as well. Naturally, he would not show any mercy to these dark power groups. So he asked Murong Qingqing to take out all of their storage rings. Don't push it too far. The tough king's followers were shocked, but they still tried to sound tough. Yi Qin said, don't force me. Although you can't kill people on the Devouring Island, it doesn't say that you can't cripple people. If I cut off one of your arms, you can still make Zhenyuan crystals. So don't force me. Chapter 763. Murong Qingqing went to get the storage rings of the tough king's followers. As for the tough king, Yi Qin would take care of him. Brat, if you do not want to die, I suggest you not to even think about Zhenyuan crystals. It is not like this has never happened before. There have been people who were more powerful than you before. But as long as they thought about Zhenyuan crystals, none of them would have a good ending. The tough king said with a cold tone. Are you trying to scare me? Yi Qin smiled lightly, his eyes sharp like blades. Feeling the intense killing intent coming from Yi Qin, the tough king did not dare to be too arrogant. He said, I am not trying to scare you, but only a small part of the Zhenyuan crystals that we collect belong to us. Most of them have to be handed over. As for who to hand over to, you should be clear about it. The tough king was one of the top 5 warriors on the number 3 devouring island, so the Zhenyuan crystals he collected were divided in a ratio of 20 to 80. 20% would go to the tough king's power, and 80% to the Blackwater Alliance. For example, the Black Mountain region could collect about 2,400 Zhenyuan crystals every month, so 20% would be 480 crystals, which was not a small amount. For some of the weaker regions, the ratio would be 10 to 90%, or 5 to 95%. This month, the tough king had already collected a lot of Zhenyuan crystals. If all of them were taken by Yi Qin, then he would not be able to hand over 80% of them to the Blackwater Alliance. Then the Blackwater Alliance would definitely come to Yi Qin. Don't worry, I will talk to the Blackwater Alliance. How could Yi Qin not think of that? Although he knew that the tough king was the leader of the underground power in the Black Mountain region, and that he would have a lot of Zhenyuan crystals, when Yi Qin opened the tough king's storage ring, he was still shocked. The tough king's Zhenyuan crystals filled up a small box. Roughly speaking, there should be no less than 5,000 of them. On the Crystal Island, 5,000 low-rank Zhenyuan crystals were equivalent to 500 million top-rank soul stones. The tough king's face was extremely ugly. There were a total of 5,400 Zhenyuan crystals in the box, and only 600 of them had just been collected. The remaining 4,800 were his own, and these 4,800 were his own. These 4,800 were his own, and these 4,800 were his own. On the Devouring Island, half-step king warriors would have to hand in 100 Zhenyuan crystals per month, and half-step king warriors would be able to make around 130 to 140 crystals per month. The tough king was the average 140. Of the 140 crystals, 100 would have to hand in, and the remaining 40 would have to give 30 to the Blackwater Alliance. In other words, even if he did not train and did not collect Zhenyuan crystals, he would only be able to save 10 of them per month. Since he was the leader of the dark power in the Black Mountain region, he had a lot of extra income. 80% of the Zhenyuan crystals that he collected would go to the Black Mountain Alliance, and 20% to his power. As the leader, he would naturally get the biggest share. In other words, it would take the tough king 4 years to save 4,800 Zhenyuan crystals. If he used Zhenyuan crystals to train, it would probably take him 5 to 6 years. Don't say that I didn't give you a way out. I'll leave you 100 Zhenyuan crystals. Taking out the box, Yi Qin left 100 Zhenyuan crystals inside. How many Zhenyuan crystals do you have? On the way, Yi Qin asked Murong Qingqing. Murong Qingqing said, most of them are with the tough king. Plus some Zhenyuan crystals that I left for them, there are only 800 of them. That is not bad. Many a little makes a mickle. Yi Qin was very satisfied. Then what should we do next? The Blackwater Alliance will probably come for us soon. Yi Qin said, if we rely on ourselves, it will take at least 50 years before we have the chance to leave the Devouring Island. You and I both cannot wait that long. As for becoming a life and death realm warrior, there are too many unknowns. So, we have to do something unusual. These dark power parties would be a good choice. You plan to take them all out? Why not? Yi Qin was not the kind of person who would follow the rules. He knew that the rules were made to be broken. If he did not think it was necessary, he could just ignore it. Where does the Claw Shadow King live? Arriving at the Black Plain area next to the Black Mountain area, Yi Qin grabbed onto a Sea of Souls realm warrior and asked. 8 miles in that direction. The warrior had been grabbed by Yi Qin and could not move at all, so he said hurriedly. Thank you. Yi Qin let go of him. The leader of the dark power in the Black Plain area was called the Claw Shadow King. According to the rumors, he was a lot weaker than the tough king. Arriving at the place where the Claw Shadow King lived, Yi Qin did not waste any time and threw out a punch. Boom. The ground shook as dust rose up everywhere. Who is looking for death? A human figure flew out. What welcomed him was a cold sword light. With a flash, the Claw Shadow King's whole body was blown away, puking out a huge amount of blood. With such a huge commotion, it was impossible for the warriors of the Claw Shadow King to not know about it. But, before they could even see what was happening clearly, they could only see layers of black shadows in front of their eyes as they were blown away. Only then did they see that it was an extremely beautiful lady with black wings on her back who had attacked them. Who are these two? They are like my idols. They beat up the Claw Shadow King and his warriors so badly that they did not even dare to let out a fart. Waiting until Yi Qin and Murong Qingqing had left, everyone who had seen this scene was shocked. They could not help but admire them. How much? Yichen asked Murong Qingqing how many Zhenyuan crystals she had as usual. 650. Not bad, I have 3,800. There were 30 regions on the number 3 devouring island. With the Black Mountain region as the center, the other 20 or so regions had all been cleaned out by Yichen, leaving only a couple of big regions. After cleaning out more than 20 dark power parties, Yichen had already gotten 50,000 Zhenyuan crystals. If it were him alone, he would be able to give all the Zhenyuan crystals to the Holy Spirit and leave the devouring island. But that was if the Holy Spirit did not lie to them. 52,100 Zhenyuan crystals in total. Murong Qingqing had just finished counting. There are still 3 regions left. The Yellow Sand region and Iron Mountain region are nothing to worry about, but that explosive Fire King from the Blue Water region is a bit tricky. For Yichen to say it was tricky, it meant that he was at least at the top half-step King Warrior level. Yeah. According to the rumors, he was already a top half-step King Warrior when he first came to the Devouring Island. He has been here for more than 10 years, so it is impossible that he did not improve at all. Besides that, he is also one of the earliest dark power parties on the island. If it were not for the Blackwater Alliance not wanting him to expand, he might have already taken over the number 3 devouring island. It is indeed tricky, but my luck should not be that bad. What Yichen was worried about was that the explosive Fire King was already a top half-step King Warrior. Although there was no freedom on the devouring island, there were plenty of Zhenyuan crystals, especially for the leaders of these dark power parties. They would not lack Zhenyuan crystals at all. Although Yichen's cultivation had reached peak level late seas of Soul's realm and his power had improved a little, there was still some distance between him and the top half-step King Warrior. The top half-step King Warrior does not seem to be that easy to reach. Talent and comprehensive ability are very important. Murong Qingqing was not too worried about it. Hearing her, Yichen felt that it was reasonable. Let's not worry about this for now. Let's take care of the other 2 regions first. He had been on the Devouring Island for many years, and he had already reached the half-step King Warrior level. Since there were a lot of people in the Iron Valley district, following the explosive Fire King would be much better than trying to start a new gang. Plus, the explosive Fire King was the most powerful warrior out there, so even the Blackwater Alliance did not want to pressure him too much. Therefore, he had been staying in the Iron Valley district all this time, and had never thought about becoming the leader of any of the dark power groups. He thought that with his power, it would not be a problem for him to take on Murong Qingqing. He did not expect that he would be at a disadvantage after only one attack. Iron 6, who is causing trouble here? In the mountain in front of Yichen, a flame was moving around and a voice was heard. It was a very calm voice, but it gave people the pressure of a volcano that was about to explode. Boss, you better come out. Iron 6 felt that he would not be able to take down the 2. Boom. Just as Iron 6 finished his sentence, the mountain shook a little and a beam of flame shot out from the top of the mountain. It was almost a flash before it arrived right next to Iron 6. Chapter 764. Such a fast speed. Murong Qingqing squeezed her eyes. She could feel that the explosive Fire King's speed was not because of his powerful Zhenyuan, but because of his usage of the profound sense. He could use 10% of the pushing force to increase his speed by 20% or even 30%. Who are you? The explosive Fire King studied Yichen and Murong Qingqing as a light flame shone on his body. Is the name that important? Yichen was also studying the explosive Fire King. His cultivation was undoubtedly at half-step King Warrior level. But compared to the tough king, the explosive Fire King's Zhenyuan was more solid, as if there was a volcano compressed inside his body. Before he even arrived, it was already hard to breathe. Yichen estimated that the explosive Fire King's Zhenyuan was at least 3 times more than the tough king's. Not counting the purity, it would be more than 10 times more than Yichen's. This person's cultivation is almost at the Thunder Spirit King's level. I wonder how powerful he is. Cultivation was still cultivation. If one did not have enough profound sense, the power gap would still be huge. I do not care who you are. Since you have come to the Iron Valley district, then don't leave. Or, you can choose to be my subordinates. Murong Qingqing was able to beat down Iron 6 with one attack, so she must be very powerful. Although Yichen had not attacked yet, with the explosive Fire King's eyes, he could naturally tell that Yichen's threat was even more powerful than Murong Qingqing's. Being your subordinate will depend on whether or not you have the power to do so. Murong Qingqing said. The explosive Fire King said, A couple of days ago there was also a young man and woman who came to challenge me. But right now I have locked them up in the Iron Valley prison. That young man is quite powerful. At such a young age he already has top half-step king warrior battling power. Do you think your battling power is even more powerful than him? You will know after you try. Yi Chen did not even need to guess to know that the young man and woman were Dong Feng Hao and Meng Xiaoling. Dong Feng Hao was very powerful, and since even he was not the explosive Fire King's opponent, then the latter's power must be horrifying. But this was exactly what Yi Chen wanted. Those half-step king warriors before him were too weak, and he had not even used 1/3 of his power. Looks like you're very confident. The explosive Fire King wanted to test it out, but seeing that Yi Chen did not do anything he thought to himself. He did not think that Yi Chen would be able to bring out that much battling power with his peak-level late seas of Soul's Realm cultivation. Boss, don't be careless. Iron 6 had seen the great battle a couple of days ago. He could tell that the explosive Fire King had already used 90% of his power to fight against Dong Feng Hao. Don't worry. The explosive Flame King waved his hand. There is a limit to my patience. A couple of days ago I gave them a chance and only put them in jail for 3 months. However, you guys will not be so lucky. Otherwise everyone would think that I, the explosive Fire King, am easy to talk to. The explosive Fire King was a bit depressed as well. He had just defeated Yi Chen a couple of days ago, and now there was another Yi Chen. Did they all think that he, the explosive Fire King, was easy to bully? Of course, he did not know that Yi Chen had already swept the 3rd devouring island, and he was the only one left. Chen. Yi Chen did not say much as he slowly took out his Thunder Disaster Sword. A crystal-like lightning flashed once on the sword blade, and the air was sliced open without a sound. Take this. Holding the sword in his right hand, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The dark gold pattern tore open the sky. The space between the two seemed to have turned into a peaceful lake. Meanwhile, the attack that Yi Chen had thrown out was like a huge rock thrown into the lake, bringing up a powerful pattern and attacking toward the explosive Fire King who was not far away. Not bad. The explosive Fire King did not dare to slow down. A dark red massive iron hammer appeared in his hand. Flames were burning on the surface of the hammer, shining brightly. He threw out a hammer attack toward the center of the pattern. Boom, 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 boom. The Iron Valley area was full of mountains, but once the two exchanged attacks, a huge part of the mountains started to collapse. It was like the sky was falling. Could it be the explosive Fire Profound? In the first exchange of attacks, Yi Chen had realized that the explosive Fire King's Fire Profound was very different from the others. If the pure Fire Profound was just burning, then the explosive Fire King's Fire Profound was like thunder, exploding crazily. Yi Chen's guess was right. The explosive Fire King had indeed learned the explosive Fire Profound. The explosive Fire Profound was actually a Fire Profound as well. However, because it had abandoned the soft part of the Fire Profound and increased its attacking power, the explosive Fire Profound was even more destructive than the Fire Profound. In terms of attacking power, it was undoubtedly more powerful than the normal Fire Profound. Of course, it did not mean that the explosive Fire Profound was better than the normal Fire Profound. Everything in the world had its own reason for existing. The soft part of the Fire Profound was not useless. In other words, the Fire Profound was also divided into yin and yang, and the explosive Fire Profound was more masculine. Metal and water combined profound and this sword intent? The explosive Fire King was shocked as well. Yi Chen's gold pattern contained both the metal profound and the water profound. The combination of the two profounds would complement each other, and the degree of integration would be very high. However, Yi Chen's sword intent was obviously more powerful, which made the explosive Fire King even more cautious. 9 layers of Fire Ocean. The explosive Fire King had learned the explosive Fire Profound, so he liked to be the main attacker in battles. After blocking out Yi Chen's attack with one attack, he quickly started his counterattack. The dark red iron hammer vibrated 9 times in the air, and 9 layers of exploding fire waves overlapped together, attacking towards Yi Chen. Pop, pop, pop. The space was twisting. The power of the 9 layers of fire waves was unbelievably powerful. The entire space seemed like it could not handle it anymore. Impressive. After Yi Chen waved out that sword attack, he had already lifted up his Thunder Disaster Sword again. At the tip of the sword, a black thunder ball appeared quickly, spinning and expanding at an extremely fast speed. By the time the explosive Fire King started his counterattack, The size of the thunder ball had already exceeded its previous size. It was dozens of meters in diameter, and the black thunder light had even darkened the sky. At first glance, it looked like a black sun, vast and horrifying. Go! Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The huge black thunder ball flew out agilely, bouncing around like a star, chasing after the moon and the stars. It seemed like the stars were moving, breaking through the limitation of the space. Dong! In the next instant, the black ball of lightning collided with the 9 layers of fire waves, and a deafening sound erupted. This kind of vibration was not much weaker than a meteor crashing into the ground. Circles of spatial ripples swept in all directions, and the heavenly lightning stirred up the earth fire. 13 layers of waves. The power of the explosive Fire King was not just for show, it was the real deal. He tore apart the shockwave and flew towards Yi Chen. The iron hammer in his hand kept waving in the air, throwing out layers and layers of fire ocean. With the power of the fire waves, his speed became faster and faster, attacking towards Yi Chen. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Chen's expression did not change. He waved his thunder disaster sword casually, and a circle of dark gold pattern appeared, blocking out the incoming fire ocean. In a blink of an eye, Yi Chen waved out 13 sword attacks. 13 circles of pattern appeared with him as the center, quietly blooming, looking extremely beautiful and powerful. With his shocking speed, the explosive Fire King surrounded Yi Chen and attacked him, like a blacksmith who was forging an extremely hard metal. Unfortunately, Yi Chen's metal was just too hard, not giving any face to the explosive Fire King at all. No matter how much power the explosive Fire King used, he could not break in at all. It was just a waste of energy. Explosive fire shock. Finally, the explosive Fire King used his ace attack, throwing out a hammer attack. As this hammer attack was thrown out, the space in front of him twisted drastically. The rolling fire wave was like a sound wave, vibrating crazily. In the past, the explosive Fire King had used this attack to kill countless half-step king warriors. Even if it were other half-step king warriors at the same level, they would have to avoid it. Boom. The fire wave rushed out and Yi Chen was blown away dozens of miles, bringing up a trail of sparks on his body. Under this attack of mine, you should have suffered a very serious internal injury. This kind of internal injury would not be healed in a short period of time. The explosive Fire King knew the power of the explosive fire shock very well. He did not think that Yi Chen would be able to survive it, unless he was wearing a pseudo-extreme rank armor. But pseudo-extreme rank armors were just too rare and not everyone had one. Yi Chen indeed had a pseudo-extreme rank armor, which was the bronze armor he got from the Iron Hand King. However, he did not activate it. Although the explosive Fire King's explosive fire shock had an unbelievable destructive power, it would not be able to wound him at all. It would already be impressive if it could make him back out dozens of miles. What a powerful ace attack. Yi Chen stopped and said with a smile. You are not hurt? The explosive Fire King frowned. Yi Chen waved his arm. The dragon bone defense layer on his skin had disappeared, and his muscles were a bit sore. Just then, besides not using his most powerful ace attack, he had already used all of his power. Even so, the explosive fire shock had still damaged some of his internal organs. But Yi Chen had the undying body, so all of those organs had been healed within a second. So powerful. He could even take on the boss explosive fire shock without being hurt at all. Iron 6 opened his mouth wide, looking very shocked. Everyone in the Iron Valley area was also shocked. They had been living in the Iron Valley area for so many years, and they had never seen anyone push the explosive Fire King to this extent. I have seen your explosive fire shock. Now I will show you my waning moon. If it were not for the fact that he wanted to know more about the explosive Fire King's level and his own power, Yi Chen would not have bothered with him until now. Now it was time to end it. Bring it on. The explosive Fire King was ready to fight, his eyes staring at Yi Chen without blinking. The smile on the corner of Yi Chen's mouth disappeared. His palm held the Thunder Disaster Sword neither too lightly nor too heavily as he threw out a sword attack. It was as smooth as flowing water. Not good. The explosive Fire King's eyes widened. In his sight, the sky and the ground had completely disappeared. There was only a crescent moon-like black sword power breaking through the air. The black sword power was getting bigger and bigger, even his sight could not contain it. That kind of feeling was like he was in the middle of a starry sky, watching a broken planet flying towards him. Boom. The black sword power had messed up the explosive Fire King's sense of time. He had only just lifted up his hand when he felt like his body had been struck by lightning. He was blown backward, blood spraying out of his mouth. Crack. That sword attack had not only blown away the explosive Fire King, it had also split the mountains below him into two halves. All of the mountains had been squeezed to the sides, and the rumbling sound was still there. Chapter 765. My Cave. On the Devouring Island, there were not many places where one could build a cave. It was impossible to build one on a flat land. Therefore, mountains and hills were all good places to build one. The Iron Valley area was the biggest area of the number 3 Devouring Island, so it had the most mountains and caves. Before, the battle between Yi Chen and the explosive Fire King had already destroyed a lot of caves. And now it was even worse. More than 30% of the caves in the Iron Valley area had been destroyed. The good thing was that the commotion outside was too loud, so most of the people had already left the caves. So there should not be any deaths. Looking at the mountain area that had been completely destroyed, everyone wanted to cry but had no tears. Of course, compared to the caves being destroyed, Yi Chen's power had shocked them 100 times more. Who was the explosive Fire King? He was the top half-step king warrior on the number 3 Devouring Island. Even the Blackwater Alliance did not want to pressure him too much, so they had given him some special privileges. Out of the 30 regions, only the Iron Valley area had the highest dark power distribution, which was 30 to 70 with the Blackwater Alliance. The power of the crescent-shaped sword power was too powerful, and it was extremely powerful as well. The explosive Fire King felt like all of his organs were about to be squeezed out of his mouth as blood kept on puking out. In the end, the explosive Fire King only managed to stop after he had smashed through 4 mountains of the Devouring Island. However, his battling power had probably been reduced by 80 to 90%. With one sword attack, the explosive Fire King had lost badly. The waning moon is indeed powerful. After reaching peak level late seas of Soul's realm, it was the first time Yi Chen had performed the waning moon, and the result was very satisfying. Even a top half-step king warrior like the explosive Fire King could not fight back at all. If it were not for the fact that Yi Chen did not want to kill the explosive Fire King, he might not be able to survive. Even so, the power of the waning moon was still a bit out of Yi Chen's expectation. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was reasonable. Among all of Yi Chen's profound sense martial arts, the waning moon was already the most mysterious one. It contained 80% of the gold profound and 60% of the water profound. Once the two profound were combined, it would not be as simple as 1 plus 1. It would be multiplied. In other words, even among the high-rank profound sense martial arts, the waning moon would be one of the top ones. Boss lost. Iron Six's face was pale. Yi Chen's strength was unimaginably strong. He had no way to calm down. Furthermore, Yi Chen looked so young. From his appearance, he looked to be in his early 20s. His real age was probably no older than 30.